Woody.
I am fixing the title. 5 and 6. There, it's like it never happened.
Uh-huh.
There.
Uh-huh. It's almost like I'm still staring at it on the base KRWBY production server. It still says 4 and 5. Can you fix that, Beau? Can you fix that?
I fixed it. It's like it never happened.
Uh-huh. Yeah, keep telling yourself that.
It
never happened.
So let's just go down the line here. Hi, I'm Brian. I voice the Neptunes in RWBY Abridged. And,
Okay.
Not anymore, you don't.
I don't? Oh, I've been recast. This is the first time hearing of it. What did I do, James?
Well,
What
Brian,
didn't
maybe
you do? It's the
listen
better
to
question,
yourself.
Mr. Vasilius.
I'm also the head of the audio department here at KRWBY Productions. And yeah, that's I do some writing things too here and there. Beau, what do you do?
I'm not next on the list. Fuck you.
Ian, what do you do?
Brian, first of all, I'm the head of the podcast on the Logistics Center. Brian, you're fired.
Oh,
Man,
Brian's
2 jobs in
fired.
one
Wow,
night.
I'm just losing jobs left and right today.
Yeah, I'm an admin
It's okay.
for the
It
moderation
means that you
team.
can.
And
Yes.
Brian, we're transferring you to Beau's direct assistant.
Ah, gotcha. That's
That way
okay.
you can
I'm
use
fine
their
with
gay
it.
notes all the time, which is what you should have done.
Emphasis on gay.
I'm sorry, but I have to tell you that we're seeing the trees for the forest, and by that I mean Forrest is not here yet.
Only you can prevent
Wow.
forest fires.
Wow.
Sadly.
Am I fired now too?
Yes. Bold
I'll
of you
fire
to assume
myself.
you were ever hired.
I'll fire myself.
Bold of you to assume you were ever hired.
Oof.
Oh.
Don't assume that anybody gets paid at this company.
Anyways,
Wow.
what is up? What is up, everybody? I am the Beau, featuring a brand new icon for me on the stream. It's lovely Wanter Schna.
Hunter Schnaw.
Beau, you're fired.
I voice Winter and Ilya for RWBY Abridged.
Oh god, it's spreading.
The dumb bitch juice is spreading.
Yikes.
I am also, what else do I do? Oh, I'm a host of the other podcast that we do, Perpetually Ajar. And I'm the lead director of the VR short department, and I'm also one of the lead writers for the VR shorts as well. And I think that's it.
Yeah, and we got a special guest with us.
Yes.
It's James. Introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. I'm just kidding.
God.
Hello, everyone. Talk to Black here. It's time to review episodes 5 and 6 of Volume 7. I think it's been a great volume so far. How about you? Yes? Good, good. Yes, excellent. Okay. Anyway, no, my name is James Tangman. I'm the executive producer of KRWBY, as well as the director of RWBY Abridged, and I am the head writer of RWBY Abridged, and one of the editors for RWBY Abridged, and I voice Ozpin and Oobleck and Roman for RWBY Abridged, and I do a lot of shit.
I have a question for you. What job do you not have?
Audio editor.
Please line up the is fired. Otherwise,
Yeah, I'm
you're
working on
fired.
Listen.
I'm gonna have a stroke if you don't line that shit up.
I'm working on it. I put it in the studio mode so I can actually edit it and then transition to it being the live version, so shut up.
Oh, you're fancy.
Hey, at least I'm not
wow.
fired.
But you are, though.
Are you sure about that?
Somehow, Ian, Ian survived the wood chipper. It's all good.
Are you sure about that?
Ian needs a RWBY icon.
Yeah, right.
We all have RWBY icons except for him.
But yeah, so tonight, in case you haven't guessed from the title, we are talking about RWBY Volume. I almost said Volume 5. That's not true.
Whoa, that we are not revisiting that hot mess.
We're talking RWBY Volume 7, Chapters 5 and 6, because we were not here last week.
Ian, you're inciting panic in the chat. Someone wants to know why I'm fired. You're gonna make the Grimm show up.
Do it. Do it.
Um,
I want to watch the world burn. I'll get front row seats.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so why don't we start ourselves off easy with RWBY Volume 7 Chapter 5 Sparks. Now, important spoiler warning, RWBY Volume 7 Chapter 5 is available for free on the Rooster Teeth site now, but Chapter 6 is not. It is only available for first members. So, if you are not a first member and you haven't seen Chapter 6, you are welcome to stick around until we're done talking about Chapter 5, but if you care about spoilers, you probably shouldn't stick around for Chapter 6.
You also shouldn't stick around if I'm fired.
Wow.
Ah, yes. The power I hold.
Don't count your chickens before they hatch, Miss Schnee.
Oof. Okay.
Um,
At least I'm still alive.
Ooh. Excuse me? Do you forget who you're talking to? As far as I'm aware, I'm still alive.
Yeah. Not
Anyway.
Are you sure? Oobleck hasn't been in the show for how many seasons now?
Okay, listen. Linda currently holds the record for that. Just saying.
Okay. Anyways, pajamas, guys.
Yeah.
Pajamas.
So we have so Chapter 5 starts out with possibly the coolest montage the show has ever had.
The only montage I think it's ever had.
Are you has it never had a montage? That can't be right.
Oh, well,
Not-
we have definitely had montages.
We've
They-
had montages
they
before,
kinda
but this
had
is definitely the
a-
best one.
They low-key had a montage during Mountain Glen.
And
But
they also had a montage during being introduced to Mistral, being introduced to Menagerie.
I wouldn't really call that a montage. Like an actual 80s training montage kind of like
Because the only montages or the only real montages are from the 80s, you see.
I mean,
Yeah,
you're not
exactly.
wrong.
You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever bring you down.
RWBY Volume 7 Chapter 5, everything is the same except that song plays over the montage.
Low key, we're gonna have to throw that in the bridge now.
Or Eye of the Tiger.
What have you done? Oh no.
Oh, there you go.
Anyways, pajamas. We gotta talk about the pajamas.
Yeah.
Pajamas are nice. The pajamas
Why
are
are we
soft.
talking about pajamas?
I mean, what?
Their regular outfits are so much better.
But pajamas mean more things to cosplay.
Pajamas mean
Why?
slumber parties.
Okay, explain this to me. Why would you cosplay a character in pajamas?
Why
Because
wouldn't you?
Can.
You, Brian,
Why
shut up.
wouldn't you?
Bo,
We should design KRWBY pajamas.
That's
Oh,
a good
yeah,
merch
have
idea,
a
but that
creepy
doesn't,
slumber party
that
at
doesn't
ALA.
answer my question. Why would you cosplay a character in their pajamas?
Why wouldn't you, Ian? That's
'Cause
the more
it's not
important
an iconic
question.
outfit.
It
Ah,
is though, because we're
that a
probably never
forest?
gonna see them again.
Is that a forest?
I guess not.
He's trying.
It's not.
He's trying. Come
Forrest,
on, grow,
you're
little
fired.
Forrest, grow.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hey, all we needed was water and sunshine. There you go.
Forrest,
I'm here.
you're fired.
I'm fired. Oh, okay. I'll go now.
Don't worry, everybody's getting fired today.
Yeah.
Oh.
As a matter of fact, I'm gonna fire myself. Goodbye.
Oh, Goodbye.
Wow.
kick him.
Well,
kick
I
him
guess
from
this
the party.
podcast is canceled, everybody.
just
See you all
fucking
next week.
get out
No,
of
we're
the
still
call.
going. Back on topic, lug nuts.
We're talking about the pajamas.
And training montage, and then Marrow being the implying that Bumblebee doesn't work.
Yeah.
Wah wah.
So we already talked about the Jean and the mom's scene.
No, we
No,
haven't
we
yet.
have
That's
not.
next.
No, we have to do 2 episodes, so you're gonna have to wait extra long to get to those extra thirsty moms.
No, they're in chapter 5.
They're literally in the first minute and a half of the episode of chapter 5.
The
Thirsty moms.
I do love the thirsty moms. That was pretty great.
Yeah.
They're like hardcore trying to shove casserole
But
on
like,
him.
Why though? What are they expected to get out of it?
Look, you've
I
got
mean,
a
I could
huntsman
say-
with a cute haircut directing
could
kids
tell
across
you.
the street.
I
That's
mean,
like Mom Honey.
I know what I would generally expect, but that ain't happening on this show. Especially not for
Here's-
John.
I mean, I
I
could go
mean-
into it, but we'd have to change the rating of this stream. You see, when a thirsty mom and a young male huntsman love each other very much,
Oh my god.
So
they
And
make
there's
a
a whole
casserole.
lot
no, no, no.
They make a casserole.
You have to dumb down the analogy a little further. When a huntsman and a cougar meet,
Oh, so Kali?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Collie is the ultimate cougar.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
And then there will be
well,
casserole.
James, we
No,
now know your
You know she
preferences.
is. You saw her going after Son. You've seen that
Fair.
meme. It's like, Blake, you either make me a grandson or I'm making you a brother.
Oh my god.
Ooh.
I have not seen that,
You
but
never
okay.
seen that
no.
meme? Are you serious?
What?
What
That
rock
is
have you been
dark.
hiding under?
I have no idea.
That has been everywhere.
Bo's been hiding under a gay rock.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
I have gay lenses.
Oh, Steven's in the chat. Hey, Steven.
Hey, what up, Danger Noodle Animations?
Nani.
Yo.
What name
I
is
got
that?
a question. I got a question about this whole first scene. Okay, so let's consider the positions we got going on here. Does this imply something for Bumblebee? Just like who is? I'm not gonna say it. but you get
I
the
don't
idea.
know. I don't know. I wish
Well,
I did.
it's-
Bo
Because
clearly
it's
hasn't caught on
the
yet because they'd be
same-
laughing their asses off.
It's the same
I'm
as when they
really
were in school.
Yeah, it's the same positions
The
as
same
when they were
setup.
in school.
No. Just like, never mind.
I
You're
And-
trying to go somewhere with that.
Alt tab that
Anyways,
space in the chat's got it, Bo.
The next bit I really loved is that we got to see Ruby and Yang. You know, they're given the option of like, oh yeah, spend your free time however you want. And so we see Ruby and Yang kind of on a mission, bonding, and then we see Weiss and Winter like training together,
We are
bonding.
on the wrong episode, Bo.
No, that's
no,
episode
we're talking
5.
about the montage. We're not talking about their night off yet. We're talking
Yeah,
about
and
Oh, it's just the
I will
same
point out that Weiss training with Winter is not in the montage.
It is though. The whole montage goes up until the Team Funky section.
Yes.
Yeah,
that is
that's true. It's later in the montage.
correct. By the way, Team Funky's back.
Oh yeah.
Team
I-
Funky is back.
I need to
I'm
talk
actually
about.
Really excited
I
about
called
that.
it.
There's still something before Team Funky that shows up that I need to say because I said it back in like the first episode. Ozma or Oscar and Ironwood were not fighting; they were sparring.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ah.
I was
I don't-
right.
Not only is that correct, but Team Funky is back. I called that too.
Okay, but you guys know who their other teammates are, right? So they're so it's Flint, Neon, Cobalt, and Ivory. Do you know who
Yeah.
Cobalt and Ivory are supposed to be? They're supposed to be is the dress blue or is the dress white?
Oh, for Christ's
Wait.
sake!
What is
Are
serious?
they?
I'm sorry. What?
Yes.
What is
No,
that?
come on.
Wait.
That's gotta be a
That's-
coincidence.
No, that's
my
what
God,
the meme
no.
is. That's literally what they're based off of. Is the hey guys, look at this
Oh.
dress. Is it blue and black or is it white?
Why? Why would
Are
they?
those
be
What is
clothes?
that?
No.
Is that a meme?
That is
Yeah.
Rooster Teeth. That's Rooster Teeth trying to get trying to revive a dead meme to be meme of the decade is what that is.
Oh no.
It was a picture that was circulating like several years ago of this
To be
dress.
Fair.
And for whatever reason, the way some people's eyes like perceived the colors, it looked white and gold to some people, and then looked blue and black for most people.
What?
Rooster
Yeah,
Teeth
it was-
2015 calls it wants its meme back.
To be fair,
How did you
the
not see
Neon
this?
Cat meme is way older.
That's
Yeah.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, but
And then Flint is their own meme from
Sugar
Achievement
Rush,
Hunter.
we are not doing that in the chat. Stop that.
So does that mean does that mean that we're gonna get that if any of their team members die and they get new team members, that they're supposed to be Laurel and Yanny or whatever the fuck.
Yes,
What?
that's exactly what that'll be.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh,
I don't know
Are
what
we
that
sure
means.
that the dress color people are not named Laurel and Yanny?
I'm pretty sure they're named Cobalt and Ivory.
No, they're definitely they're Laurel and Yanny now. That's official.
Anyway.
I want merch of Neon's hoodie. It's super cute.
Oh yeah.
I like that she switched to inline skates instead of roller skates now.
So let me ask: are we going to guess that the two of the people on team whatever the hell it's called Aesops are we gonna assume that they're like brother and sister because they have the same semblance? Or it sure looks that way. Elm and Vine.
Well,
They-
it's slightly different, but
Yeah, they have different semblances.
well, he does stretchy arms and she does root feet, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I mean that makes sense with their names, but
yeah,
I
because
don't
he's a vine and she's a tree, and
And technically speaking, the story they're based off of, the Elm and the Vine, is it talks about marriage. So yeah.
oh.
so hopefully not. So not getting all Game of Thrones up in here.
I mean, anything can happen.
Or not getting every other anime ever.
Well,
This isn't Sword Art
Look
Online,
at you,
okay?
Sword Art.
Oh my god, weren't they cousins?
Yeah.
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 So what is
yeah.
what is this,
That's the
Alabama?
lie they told themselves.
No, that would be
when they
West
were-
Virginia, Beau.
Let me put it this way. Look, Sword Art Online has a number of problems, but on the field of RWBY becoming more like anime, it so much is. It's
Oh
we
my
are seeing
God.
so many anime-ish tropes and
the
stylistic
sandwich,
choice. Yeah, it's
the
they're-
sandwich scene.
Yeah, just like this is so much inspired. Just call it anime. Just call it anime, okay?
It's Western anime.
Get
That's
over
what
it.
it is.
So I have a bone to pick with Rooster Teeth.
Okay.
We were
It's the nuts and bolts, right?
we were so close to a beautiful nuts and bolts moment, but then Penny had to go wake Ruby up.
You know,
It's-
Brian, I have a photo that I feel like will just make you even more upset.
Oh no!
It's a photo that actually shows how fucking close the two of them were.
Can I just say that we have been getting
Give
a
it to me.
lot
I'll
of
put it
nuts
on
and
the
bolts
stream.
vibes so
Do it.
far, and I am loving every minute of it.
Right.
Like,
Hmm.
I love nuts and bolts so much.
Like,
It's so cute.
look at how close they were, Brian.
God damn it!
That's how close Brian is to
That
losing
is
his
like
shit.
that is like Sistine Chapel levels of closeness right there.
You know, Axia, I feel the same. I never see Crow speak with Winter, and I am personally offended.
They literally talked like an episode or two ago.
Winter bitched at him once.
Listen,
Okay.
I mean, that's the form of talking.
Steven, I need you to shut up. Thank you. Shut up in the
Speaking
chat.
of odd of ships and things, can we talk about the Crow, the blooming bromance of Clover and Crow?
Man, y'all keep skipping important things like the fact that Penny doesn't have a team anymore.
Yeah, right. That's what I was about to say.
The new P and
So
Juniper.
they have. So Ironwood says that Penny doesn't have time for friends,
It's
and
very upsetting.
I'm
Upsetty
upsetty
spaghetti.
spaghetti. Oh God damn it, James!
Oh my god.
No, like
I believe the ship name is Fair Game, is the Clover Crow ship.
Fair.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah, like that definitely has some like so this is the part of the podcast where we stop being a shit post and actually talk seriously. No, like so this actually was really, I think, telling, because for Penny, I feel really bad for Penny because I feel like historically, Penny has been really confused about who she is, what she is. We've seen that with like even back in Volume 2, or no, sorry, not Volume 2, Volume 1. Nope, Volume 2. I'm confusing my RWBY seasons.
Brian,
Where
our more expert.
where Penny
starting to doubt your judgment.
like where Penny initially opens up to Ruby and tells her that she's a robot.
Mm-hmm.
She has this moment where she very sadly says, "I'm not real." And Penny and Ruby is like, "What? That's some bullshit." Right?
You are a real girl.
Exactly like that. That's
Delete.
exactly what she said.
And no one's nose grows any longer. It's
Yeah. No, like
Ian, the picture's confusing people. You should delete it.
Darn. What a shame. Oh. Wow.
So,
but like no, like it's this. She, and when Ruby says that, she says, "No, like you think you're any different just because like what you're made of is different than what I'm made of, like." You're absolutely real. You have a soul. And like that meant so much to Penny. Like she bear hugs Ruby and whatnot. It's a comedic moment. But now, so that was, I think, a key moment for Penny to start like thinking of herself differently, start thinking of herself as a real person. But even here in this scene in Volume 7, she's talking with Ruby about like, what's normal, what's not. And but with Ironwood telling her, "Oh, you're not allowed to have friends," I think it shows a very real disconnect in that Ironwood, I think, is still viewing Penny as a tool and not a person.
mm-hmm.
No, you're not allowed to have friends. No, you're going to be the protector of man. You're a sentry drone. Essentially.
well, maybe.
Well, he didn't say we don't know that he said you're not allowed to have friends. He told her that she doesn't have time for friends.
So
Right.
here's
Well,
the other thing.
it's sort of it's very much, I think, because we got into this dynamic with the Aesops and Team RWBY, right, where the Aesops are teammates,
Right,
but they
exactly.
aren't friends, and then Team RWBY are friends, and so I think we're gonna have this. Penny is going to have to make this decision: do I follow like the military types? Do I go with their model of we can work together, but that's all, we're teammates but we're not friends, or do I want to be friends with my teammates and like the Team RWBY model? And she's going to have to like choose at some point which of those to follow, and I think which one she'll choose is probably pretty obvious. But
yeah, I mean, what I will say though is perhaps you're right. Perhaps Ironwood doesn't necessarily view her as just a tool, but I certainly think that it's still confusing Penny as to what her role is.
Someone yeeted something. What was that?
that was me there.
No, I still think that it is still confusing Penny as to what her role is. It's not really giving her the opportunity to go out and explore what it means to be a person. She still has to kind of fall into this robot role of being a sentry.
Right, because that's what Ironwood needs of her right now. He's like, you don't have time to figure out this whole being a person thing. Like, we need you to defend the city because there's going to be a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So,
And Ruby asks her directly, like, well, how do you feel about that, Penny? And she's like, well, I wish I could do what I need to do, but also do what I want to do. And like,
which is kiss Ruby. Come on.
I really like that Ruby is the one that's constantly asking her, like, how does that make you feel? Like kind of is the one that's almost like encouraging, like her own independent thought of like, well, I don't care what they have to say about what you should feel or what you shouldn't feel. How do you feel? Like,
and just Ruby accidentally creates Skynet. She encourages Penny to become self-aware.
She's working on it.
It's like, God damn it, Ruby!
Don't give her the launch codes.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, when you see the end of that montage where everyone's just like one by one falling asleep, is so cute because you have Weiss laying on Ruby and Ruby's like giving her this very soft, cute little look, and then you have Yang fall asleep, and then Blake falls asleep across Yang's lap, and then Yang's hand is on Blake's arm. And Ruby's just sitting there going, Oh, this is a game.
I
mess.
think my favorite moment of that is just how like at ease Weiss looks. Like she falls asleep first, and she's got this very content look. Like that's probably honestly, I would say that's probably the happiest I've ever seen Weiss in the entire like show. Is that moment? Like she just genuinely looks at ease.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like more of happy girl Weiss. But yeah, I can't remember where I saw. I want to say it was in the Ruby 7 spoiler, so I'm sorry if I'm stealing your theory. But so whoever it was that said this was your idea. I just can't remember who it was. But someone said that they have a theory that Penny's semblance is a truth detector or like a lie detector. Because she can't lie. Because she remember she hiccups every time she lies. And so she's able to detect lies.
So if she lied herself, she'd notice that.
Yeah.
So she can't control it.
No,
that
so
well.
I just love I love this idea because like somebody lies in her presence, she hiccups. And then she's like, oh, you bitch.
Although she didn't pick up in Ruby's presence when she told Ironwood that the questions had been used
But
up.
she didn't lie though. She said Ozpin told us that the questions were used up, which is exactly what he did.
Oh, that's true.
It was a lie by omission, not
Interesting.
an actual,
Yeah, that's true.
not a straight lie. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So there's that. We should go back and psychoanalyze every scene that Penny's been in and see if she hasn't hiccuped around anyone else, but see if anyone's told any blatant lies around her.
Yeah.
But moving along, we get to Crow and Clover, who are playing cards in the back of the van.
Yep.
And Clover is just winning.
Yep. And we get a confirmation that yes, indeed, Crow has given up drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is sober.
Proud of my boy.
Yep.
Sober Crow, best Crow.
Going into that healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we can truly get Snowbird because Crow has stopped drinking.
Yes, please.
You know what's yeah, that's true. Well, you know what else is interesting that I didn't think
about? That's what ticked her off. That's what ticked off Winter.
Yep.
Like he was being drunk.
Now,
you know what's interesting?
Well, I gotta ask you a question here.
Hold on. James is talking.
Oh, sorry.
Can I just say it's kind of interesting? Like I know that it wasn't intentional, but it's just kind of interesting to me that like, you know, Jason's voice for Crow is a little less rough. You know, it's got a little less grit to it.
He's softer. He's a softer Crow.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that is that if I'm not mistaken, if you routinely drink alcohol, the alcohol affects your vocal cords and makes you more gritty, I think. So it's kind of interesting.
What's happening there is alcohol loosens you up. That's why like you'll hear stories about like drunk drivers when they get into a car crash. Like sometimes the driver will live, but the other people in the car won't. And that's because the drunk driver is so loose that they just kind of ragdoll and they don't get hurt, but everybody else tenses up and they break essentially. So what that's doing is it's actually relaxing your throat muscles, relaxing your vocal cords, so you go deeper, and you get more resonance out of it.
Oh, I thought you got more grit.
Not a good tip for voice acting, by the way. Don't go into a voiceover session drunk just so you can have a lower voice.
So,
I'm sure somebody's done that at some point.
Yeah.
What did you want to ask me, Brian?
Oh. My question is, how upset will you be if Crow and Clover happen as opposed to Snowbird?
Here's the thing about it is I'm the kind of person that I'm very respectful of ships once they've been canonized. Until they have been canonically stated, yes, this is the ship, they're in a relationship, because I ain't about that like, oh, well, they may be bi, like, and they may be canonically in this relationship with this character, but like I'm still gonna headcanon them as being with this character because it's like I like that better. Like I honestly lean more towards I'm respectful of people's ships, and if Crow were to end up with Clover, yes, I would be sad, but I would still be respectful because I think that that's a huge win, because not very often do we see positive representation of bi male characters in media nowadays. And so I consider that a huge deal for that community. So I would I would be happy for them. Would I be sad for Snowbird? I would.
I honestly, I don't really see it between those two, and the thing is, I mean, well, I guess in this episode I kind of did a little bit more, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, because as somebody else pointed out in the comment section too, is that he may just need a friend, you know, and like maybe Clover being the opposite semblance of him will give him a different outlook. You know,
I think that's the most important part of their relationship, honestly.
And might teach him to control his semblance too.
Well, and it's very clear that Crow has never met, like, he's viewed his entire life as one long disaster. His semblance makes it so, right? Everything he touches breaks, right? And here's this guy that literally counteracts that. Right? This is the first time he can have a relationship with someone, romantic or otherwise, that his semblance isn't going to harm it at some point.
That's true.
So this is like new territory for him.
See, I would argue differently, Steven, in that the Aesops don't believe in having friends with your teammates. But that's not to say that they don't have friends outside of their own immediate team.
Yeah.
They just think that you shouldn't confuse, like, sorry, I got, like, really triggered by the Snowbird is a sunken ship. Like, I literally saw it and just saw red. Like, you think I'm kidding.
I don't. I just think it's funny that you were able to articulate.
Crow does do that cute little head scratch.
Fucking sirens in the background.
Look. Look, I'm sorry. I'm
Anybody
sorry,
else
Tom.
your Seven Nation
Army?
army? I think Beau's about to whoop some ass.
But God, I can't even remember what I was saying. No, yeah, Pat, forget it. I can't remember what I was saying.
The Aesops don't believe in having friends, only teammates.
Oh yeah. Well, they don't like. It's kind of like, it's like, you don't. Some jobs will be like, don't fraternize with your coworkers, whether it be romantically or just platonically. Like, we want you to keep it professional in and out of work here. So please do not, have any kind of established relationship outside of work. And I get that, especially in like a military aspect, like not wanting to have that that connection with someone, because it could make you like jeopardize a mission because you're too worried about that person. Yeah. But I don't imagine that means that they're opposed to having friends that are like other huntsmen or that are civilians or whatever. Like, I don't think that necessarily means that they're against having friends in general.
Yeah, no, I didn't get that at all. I think it's just like that military thing of like, if you're friends with your teammates and then your friend is in trouble and you're like, well, I have to save my friend, but the mission, you're going to choose your friend over the mission. That's not what, that's not what they want you to do. So,
yeah. Right.
Which is sad. It's sad because I personally feel like you should be at least close to the people that you're on, like a team like that, because I mean they're a good example of, you can be on the same wavelength as someone and not be friends necessarily, because they obviously work very well together. But I think that having that drive to protect each other, because you're gonna probably get more work done if like your whole team is, I don't know, alive. So like if they want to protect each other rather than prioritize the mission, then I feel like the mission would get done more efficiently because they're all still there. But that's just me.
Well, I think they do train that, like, you're trained to have your partner's backs and things like that, and even in a military setting like that, like, there's a very close bond between soldiers in the same unit and stuff. So even if it's like not quite friends, there is still that we want to keep everybody alive if possible.
Mm-hmm.
The no person left behind mentality, right?
Yeah. But can we talk about my new waifu?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
So,
Slam Girl?
Yes.
No, it's not Fiona.
Lamb Girl is best girl.
Okay,
No,
Brian,
Weiss
cool
is
it.
best girl.
Down
no,
That's
boy.
right.
no,
heel.
Weiss has been demoted.
Fucking preach.
Jesus.
Yeah, but so hey,
Testify.
Robin stops the truck.
What is up,
Right,
Christina V? Welcome to the fray.
Yup. So yeah, Robin shows up and she wants to know why the dust is not going to mantle.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets real heated.
Not
Clover
heated enough. Fight. There should have been a fight.
Clover is like, "Oh, Robin, so good to see you."
Yeah, isn't he just thrilled?
Oh, yeah. I have a feeling they have a long history of standoffs in front of gates and
You know, I'm having this anxiety because like as soon as every episode comes out, I immediately jump into Ruby 7 spoilers to talk about theories and everything.
Same.
And I have a theory of what I think Robin's semblance might be, and I'm real concerned that it is that, because that's my OC's semblance. And I really don't want to have to deal with like Robin's semblance. And it's like, well, I wrote it before Robin was announced as a character. I'm not saying that they took my idea or anything, but I'm saying that she's not based off of Robin. And I'm just kind of like, please don't let that be her semblance. Which is, I think it's persuasion. I think that she's able, but someone pointed out that like, what if a counter to her semblance, because Clover seems to at least know that she's up to something here, is what if the counter to her semblance is if you're aware that she's using her semblance on you, then it has no effect.
Right, we don't know the rules because some of these semblances have very specific rules, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Man, I gotta say,
So-
I just came back into our Discord chat and I saw that picture of Ruby's head next to Penny's shoulder, and I'm mad again.
It's like me with the snowbird comment.
Jeez, dude.
We're very emotional about these characters.
Fucking
okay?
triggered.
I like
Darn, I should
I like
put
how
the
Robin.
image back up.
Oh my God. I like how Robin refers to Ruby as Pipsqueak and Crow as 5 o'clock Shadow. That was good.
Yeah.
What about you, 5 o'clock Shadow?
Yeah, that was funny.
That was
I really like I really Robin is just such an interesting character to me. Like, she's kind of a really different dynamic, I feel like, than most of the other characters we've had before.
Mhm.
And I'm also just kind of wondering why she thinks openly opposing the military illegally is a good idea when she's running for office.
I think it was less a move about it running for office and more a move of desperation on Robin's part. Just like, this is affecting her people so much to the point where she had to at least consider the option.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that, considering that she's quite obviously based on Robin Hood.
yeah.
Which you know, depending on which iteration of Robin Hood you're reading, Robin of Locksley, Robin of Locksley was a noble, i.e., someone of importance, like Robin Hill, who was running for office, who still, despite being of noble blood and noble standing, still took on that persona of Robin Hood, where he stole from the rich and gave to the poor.
Keyword being stole.
Yeah,
Yes.
keyword being stole. And it's just, but I'm just really confused at, like, why she is, the only explanation I can think of is that she knows that with all of these, like, with like the murders happening and whatnot, like, I honestly genuinely don't think Robin necessarily believes that Ironwood is targeting her people. Like, I think that she's smart enough to know that Ironwood wouldn't do something like that. And I genuinely think that she is kind of like in the position of, he's not going to stop me from doing any of this. What is he going to do? Arrest me? It'll just make me a martyr. It'll just prove my point that he's overstepping.
Right, right. She's got
and so
some
I think
political clout.
She's
even
really
if she
pushing
hasn't
her
elected
luck.
yet.
Yeah.
But
at the same time, it's like and it's like I pointed out in the Ruby 7 spoilers chat, is they can't afford to arrest Robin. And so she can kind of get away with whatever right now.
Yeah.
Because if they arrest Robin, it would have created a friggin' chaotic scene.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would have just made her a martyr. Like, it would have just been like, look, see how corrupt he is? He's arresting his competition. Like,
bricks and lots of windows.
But
Yep.
then Penny shows up, and I think that that's really interesting that she backs off after Penny shows up, and I didn't really think about it until afterwards. But she says, "Oh, the protector of Mantle, huh?" And originally, I thought that was like a jab at Penny, like, "Oh, like you're supposed to be on our side, but look what you're doing." But the more I think about it, the more I realize that perhaps the reason she backed down was because of the standing that Penny has in Mantle as being their protector.
yeah, that picking a fight with the protector of Mantle might look badly like to the people.
So a more political move. Yeah.
Although it's really interesting to me that Penny looked really uncomfortable at being called the protector of Mantle.
Yes.
Like, I'm still that kind of still really confuses me as to why she kind of acted that way. Although Robin did say her name in like a very kind of condescending way, like, "Oh, the protector of Mantle," kind of like the almost like backhanded bow or curtsy, kind of like, "Look, you've graced us with your presence," you know.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's what it was.
I think.
Well, it's kind of. I mean, because Penny is Atlas tech, right? She's a symbol of this oppressive force that Robin Hill was trying to fight, basically the Ironwood military complex, and Penny is like the cutting edge of that. So even if she's declared, "Oh, you're the protector of Mantle," but you're not from Mantle. You're not a person who lives in Mantle. You haven't seen what we've seen. You haven't been through what we've been. You're some appointee from on high. So why are you the protector of Mantle? Is kind of where I thought she was coming from with that.
Yeah, I think I do think it was still a jab at Penny, and I think that the reason that Penny took it the way that she very clearly did was it basically felt like Robin going saying like, "You're on the wrong side of this, like you should be with us." Like you're not, basically saying like, you're like, she had already said that like the dust not going to Mantle is causing problems, like it's hurting Mantle. Yet here's Penny, the protector of Mantle, protecting something that is going to hurt Mantle. So it was kind of like going like, like you say you're the protector of Mantle, people call you the protector of Mantle, but you're not.
But what are you doing not protecting Mantle? Yeah. Well, she's trying to do the persuasion trick, the Jedi mind trick on her a little bit.
She's playing the not, oh god, I can't remember she's doing like mind tricks on her, like she's fucking with her. Yeah, the guilt card.
She's guilt tripping her
a little bit.
Yep.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they she backs off and she lets them go. And can I talk about how like buff Robin looks? Like,
she's got that step on me energy.
She's got that like put me in a sleeper hold energy. Like, I don't know how else to say it.
I like that she's not like ostensibly, I mean, at this point we haven't really seen, she's not like a good or a bad character. Like a lot of the characters we see in RWBY are very much like, oh, they're on the bad guys' side, or they are the good guys. I mean, Ironwood and Ozpin are sort of more in the authoritarian camp, like we can't really tell. But Robin Hill is very interesting, like, is she going to be a good guy? Is she going to be a bad guy? Is she just kind of doing her own thing?
She strikes me as like a chaotic good type character.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, she doesn't necessarily care how the good happens so long as it happens.
If she has to break the rules to get the good done,
Yeah, exactly.
Ends justify the means kind of character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the Robin Hood character, right? Like he breaks the law to help people, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Yeah,
yeah,
the
but
same-
she absolutely wants to know why all this dust is going to Amity.
I would definitely have to. I'll definitely have to pitch in something when we get to episode 6 about Robin. That I noticed.
Mhm.
I would like to point out that actually, if you go on like the on like one of the like general definitions of like characters that are listed as chaotic good, Robin Hood is listed as chaotic good as one of the examples. So like,
There you go.
anyways, and now we get to talk
Confirmed.
about me for the next half hour.
Yup, we going to Weiss and Winter. They sparring.
It's
They're
like
doing
it's like
their
a
semblance
Pokemon
training.
battle. Like
It basically is. They're Pokemon masters.
Beowulf, I choose you.
Go, giant suit of armor. Use
Knightly boy.
I don't know.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, they spar. Winter still gets the better of Weiss, but Weiss gets a good.
I would say it's a tie. It's a tie because Winter kills or the Beowulf kills the knight, but then the knight already ran the Beowulf through, and the Beowulf was killed too.
That's
Oh
true.
shit.
They do both die.
Yeah,
It's
they both die.
See,
Who
when
wins-
I was
who-
taking notes on the episode, I may or may not have been watching it at 2x speed.
Oh my god,
It's
Yeah,
like,
Brian.
it's like who wins the fight? One huge Beowulf, one huge beastie boy, or one small swordy boy?
No, that's next episode.
Yeah.
And
Still.
can we talk about how Winter is now confirmed a tsundere? She's like, this is just like, that almost sounded like a compliment. I didn't intend it that way. Like,
Yeah.
you did a good job, but not because I'm proud of you or anything.
Yeah.
Don't be mistaken now.
At least
Like,
Winter has the class to be a high functioning tsundere rather than someone who gets absolutely debilitated.
High-functioning
High functioning Sundar.
High functioning tsundere.
It's like
this
you're
is a
saying
new
that I'm a high
term.
functioning sociopath.
Like, I really love this dynamic that Weiss now feels comfortable poking fun at Winter, that there's this like very light air between them now.
Yeah.
Like they're actually having like, this is the first time in a very long time at the very least that they're getting to kind of act like sisters. And I really, oh god, I really love this episode.
Mhm.
Katie and I both got very emotional watching it together, as we do about the Schneesters.
Yeah. Now I think it's interesting that like, so Winter comes in and she's like, Ironwood would probably have a place for you, and Weiss was like, I'ma have to pass. And Winter's like, what? Why? And Weiss is like, 'cause your boy is doing shit.
Well, I mean, the way that Weiss goes about saying it though is very like Weiss would, I feel like Weiss would do so well in politics, like honestly, because she's not just like, no, that's not what I want. No, I don't like Ironwood. No, I don't. I think he's wrong, but I don't think that our goals align. She's very much like, I don't know that I necessarily agree with how he's going about these things. She takes it's a very neutral stance, but still very like
Diplomatic.
yeah, very diplomatic. Like the way that Weiss talks in this whole scene really, I feel like, showcases how much she's grown as a character.
Ultra Godzilla fan, Weiss for president. Absolutely.
Yes.
Weiss me
Weiss,
for president.
Weiss for just Queen of Atlas, please.
Yeah.
It's no longer a council. It's a
Weiss,
it's-
you're thinking
It's
too
too-
small. I would like Weiss need to be
Queen
the
of
first
Remnant.
president of Remnant.
There you go.
Madam President.
Madam President.
Can we get this trending on Twitter? Hashtag Weiss for president.
Oh god, that's gonna go over well in the current climate.
No,
Oh,
please
that-
do not put it on Twitter.
That would be amazing.
Especially in lieu of how the world's looking right now.
Well, I liked in this conversation though, like Winter's position, right? Because
mhm.
she's coming from this like, oh, you finally distance yourself, you've realized you're out from under father's thumb, and she says like discarding the family name is the best thing I ever did, right?
Mhm.
Like she's like, oh, you're becoming me now. You're following in my footsteps. And she's like, we can be, now we were like blood relatives before, but now we're like actually following the same path. And then, Weiss is like, well, I don't know about this whole like being in the military under Ironwood thing, but
Yeah.
so he doesn't really shoot her down, but she's like, no, we're different. We're kind of following the same path, but we're not,
We're going about it different ways.
Yeah.
Right.
And I like that she doesn't necessarily put down Winter's decision. Like she doesn't necessarily say you're on the wrong side or anything like that. She does kind of plant that seed of doubt with, like Winter being like, Ironwood isn't hiding anything, not from me. And Weiss is like, can you be sure? Like, how do you know? And at first there's this moment of it looks like Winter is kind of questioning herself of like, shit, like, is she right? Like, what if he is hiding things from me? But in order to solidify that argument, she's not contemplating whether things are being held from her. She's contemplating on whether she's going to tell Weiss what isn't being held from her.
Right.
And I thought that was a really interesting.
Yeah.
I honestly was really, as much as I love the idea of, Weiss and Winter being closer and not keeping secrets from each other like that, I was honestly really surprised that Winter chose to tell her about what she was about to tell her.
Yeah, so Winter takes Weiss to go see the Winter Maiden, who is on her deathbed. And newsflash, Winter is the only person she's allowed to see.
Gee, I wonder what they're trying to... Oh, wait, her name is Winter. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultra Godzilla fan, I gotta say, she even says that she questioned Ironwood's actions. Like, your argument is invalid, my dude. Like, she questions it. But yeah, it's so. Oh God, I'm so worried for her. I'm so scared for my girl.
Yeah.
Should we do the thing?
You also pointed out that the fucking big suck chambers are over there in the corner.
The big suck chambers.
The big suck chambers. Is that the official that's written on the side?
Suck?
Yep. The big suck.
I love that term for it.
Oh my god.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Do we need to do the thing?
Yeah. I guess this is I mean, okay, so first off, I want to say huge shout out to I'm assuming it's Alex Abraham who did the composition for this scene specifically with the Winter Maiden. Is we get this new rendition of Winter's theme, which I've only ever been excited for the soundtrack. Like, I love the composition music, like the actual like episode soundtracks, but I've never been so excited for the soundtrack to come out so I can hear one of the backing tracks for a scene before, like, until this scene, because it's finally just a straight version of Winter's theme, just piano, no crazy flourishes or anything. It's just her theme, like, bare bones, and it's so beautifully done. And I loved how there's a specific moment when Weiss realizes that Winter has been chosen to be the next maiden, and there's this like low like bass sound that happens, and it's just I'm just like, Brian, you turned me into like a soundtrack nut, like because of like it, like explaining what like leitmotifs are and everything. And so going into that, in the scene previously when Weiss and Winter are training, we have another rendition of Path to Isolation that plays.
Yep.
And James and I, after several hours of messaging each other back and forth, came up with quite the conspiracy theory, I would say. This is like on par with like the indoctrination theory from Mass Effect 3, I'm going to say. Like, this is it's really kind of pulling at straws, I feel like, but
Wow.
I think it could work.
Okay, so there's technically two theories. At least I have a different one too. They kind of start in the same place and then dovetail. So I could just read what I posted on RWBY Amino. By the way, follow us there if you don't. So here's what I said. And this is a combination of Beau's ideas, my ideas, and stuff like that. Okay, so I said, so Beau and I have had some ideas about what may happen soon concerning Weiss and Winter. Beau has been convinced for quite a while that Winter is essentially Weiss's mirror, the metric which she uses to judge herself and her standing in the world. Plus, she may be a reflection of what Weiss wants for herself. I think it may go further than that, in that Winter may see Weiss as her mirror, a reflection of who she used to be. Beau and I are both very concerned for Winter. Her death flags definitely seem to be flying pretty high right now, but there's an alternative that I'd like you guys to consider, and it hinges on the path to isolation. At first glance, the song seems to be about Weiss's past, but we're not so sure that that's the case anymore. For example, the overall theme of the song is that Weiss had warmth, joy, and happiness before something happened that sent her on a downward spiral. As far as we know, though, this is the first time that Weiss has actually been warm, joyful, and happy in her life. And we don't know of any particular event that rocked her world. You might think it's her mother's alcoholism, but that doesn't really fit. Descent into alcoholism is gradual. It doesn't fit the idea of an unexpected loss, as the song describes. That implies that it was something more sudden, like a death. But Willow is still alive. We don't know of any sudden death in Weiss's family at all. It's not to say it's not there, but... anyway, and here's where the theory kicks in. Maybe the path to isolation was actually a reference to a future event. The first thought that probably comes to mind is Winter's death, and I do have an even darker theory than this one about that, but I don't think that we're going to see a complete repeat of the events of Volume 3. Mm-hmm. Instead, I think we may see Ozpin's warning about using the machine come to pass. In the Winter Maiden's room, we see an advanced version of the aura transferal machine to the left.
AKA the big suck.
Right. As Beau said,
the big suck.
As Beau said when they posted about it in our Discord, Ironwood isn't taking any chances. We believe that it will actually have to be used once Atlas descends into chaos, for one reason or another. The Winter Maiden's powers will be transferred to Winter via the machine, and in the process, she will lose herself. This is in accordance with Ozpin's warning that using the machine can result in a spliced consciousness. Instead of thinking of the path to isolation as Weiss's song, think of it as a song for both Winter and Weiss. And once you do, the foreshadowing seems a lot more clear. Now, obviously, I'm not going to read the entire thing, but suffice to say that the first verse, think of the first verse as Weiss's, the second as Winter's, and they go back and forth. That's probably the best way to describe it.
1 and 2 are Weiss, 3 and 4 are Winter, 5 and 6 are Weiss,
Right.
7 and 8 are Winter, and then the last one or the last 2 are both of them.
Both of them.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you split it up in that way, Weiss's entire part of the song is about losing the light that guided her, essentially, and feeling lonely. Because she is suddenly alone. Whereas Winter's is about losing her identity.
Mm-hmm. And being confused.
Yep. Losing her identity, being angry at the people who did it to her, and slowly losing everything about herself.
Mm-hmm.
So the last question you might have is, why would we pick that song? Well, we already covered that. We were introduced to the song during a trailer which featured Weiss and Winter. And it was an orchestral version of the song playing in the background during the conversation right before we were introduced to Winter, the Winter Maiden. So it's an interesting choice by the team over there at Rooster Teeth to play that song, a song that references the past, at least we thought it did, in the present. It's kind of an odd idea, because when we were first introduced to it, it was in the trailer with Weiss and Winter. That was the earliest moment in the canon that we've ever seen. So It's an interesting thought.
It is, and it isn't the first time. I mean, a lot of their songs can have sort of double meanings in them, and it's also not the first time we've seen them do a song that isn't about something we've seen in the show, but is about something in the future. For instance, the song "I May Fall." I think it's on the first album, but it plays during Volume 3, I think, when they fight the robot. Right? I May Fall, I'm pretty sure, is about the final battle between Salem and Ruby at the end of the show. I'm pretty sure that's the event that it's referencing, and we obviously haven't gotten there yet. So,
Yeah, could be.
you know.
One can only assume.
Yeah. But yeah, I find that very interesting that we have all of this. And then if you song itself, there is a very obvious shift in the song in between those pairs of verses. Every time, as if the perspective is changing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Do we get a little bit of Weiss's theme or Winter's theme in that, I wonder? Or is
I don't know.
Mostly just Weiss's?
We get the kind of repeating of the mirror kind of motif that's been going on in the very end with the mirror help me, who am I?
Yeah.
Right.
But again, this is all kind of based off of the whole theory of Winter being Weiss's mirror. Although I do love the idea of them being the mirror to each other, being reflections of what they could have been, what they previously were, what they are now, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
I think that fits pretty well, actually.
Yeah, I really do. Like, plot twist, Weiss has actually been the main character the whole time.
I'm not gonna go there because views on that, but
yeah, that's definitely we've put a lot of thought into it. That theory, it was really funny because we were filming Nondescript Winter Holiday 2 the other night, and every night at the end of filming we always do like a couple songs where we'll play music through our microphones and we'll dance and whatnot. And I was in my Winter avatar and I was playing Path to Isolation. I was listening to it and I had my camera out and I was looking at like myself as Winter, and I got like really emotional about it. Like it kind of hit me, like just all the shit that Winter has been going through for the last several months, since the fall of Beacon, what she has to have kind of had to come to terms with about herself. And like I wonder if she understands what could potentially happen to her should they use that machine.
Somehow I think this might be the thing that Iron didn't disclose to her.
Something just occurred to me. Have they talked with Maria about what happened to them yet?
What?
Maria just kind of fucked off.
Yeah, Maria really did.
Maria's spending time with her boyfriend.
She's like, fuck those kids. I'm going to get laid.
Oh dear.
Look, fam. If that's what she's going for, bros before hoes, okay? I'm not getting between any of that. Nope.
But yeah. Oh yeah, and then just as Weiss and Winter having this real touching moment, Jacques comes on and ruins everything. And by ruins everything, I mean not just the moment. He like ruins all of Mantle.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was his lifelong goal. He can die happy now.
Yep.
Brian, would you like to read my excerpt from my notes?
Yes. I will do a dramatic reading of Weiss's what the fuck?
Wow.
Beau's notes.
I guess Katie's out of a job now.
Sorry, Katie.
Everybody's fired, remember?
Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah. My dramatic reading of Beau's notes. Fucking Jacques, you cuck!
Oh my god.
And then followed closely by Winter and Weiss thoroughly done with
Winter and
Jacques'
Weiss thoroughly done with Jacques' shit.
Yep.
Could you spit that word out any more violently?
And scene.
And I think it's Jacques is just I hate this man so much. he literally got he got his he had his cake and ate it too, like exactly like Watt said, because he was saying, oh, if I could just fire all those people down in Mantle but still get their votes, like blah. And it's like that's exactly what he did. Is he's all like, oh, can you trust anyone else to stop Ironwood? Can Robin get your jobs back? It's like, bitch, you could get their jobs back with one phone call. Like,
See, I don't
That's
understand this ploy of his of like he's shutting down things, right? And he's laying off people. I don't understand how that's going to get people to vote for, like saying you're all fired, but you can have your job back if you vote for me.
Well, he's saying
kind of a weird.
It's
no, I mean that's
strong-arming.
exactly what he's doing. But the thing is he's framing it as I've been forced to do this because of what the people currently in power are doing. I have had no choice but to close up these shops. But if you vote for me, then all of a sudden I have a say in this. I can get your jobs back.
Now,
Right.
anybody
Yeah.
in Mantle who is probably politically aware is going to call it out as being horseshit, but you know what? Most people in Mantle, as in the real world, are not the most politically enlightened people on the planet.
That's true.
Yep.
I still
Yep.
feel like he's been going, employing people. There hasn't been like, as far as we know, anyways, there haven't been like, scheduled layoffs and like laying off a little bit of the company. Okay, well, we still can't make the budget work, so we'll lay off a few more people and a few more people. It's just all of a sudden he's like, no, we go from everybody's employed to nobody's employed because, oh, by the way, the election's coming up. Vote for me. Like,
Mhm.
there's thick and then there's. Like it seems like a ploy, but then again, maybe that's kind of the point. Like he realizes people will see through it, and he realizes that they don't really have a choice because how else are they going to get their jobs back except for vote for him? So even though they're like, "Man, this guy's a total dick. I want my job back, so
Yeah.
I gotta vote for him."
Yeah, he's basically holding the voter base hostage.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
Did the stream just die?
Uh-oh.
no, it's back.
No, it's on.
Oh, it's on? Maybe it's just me. Me reload. Okay, no, it works. I'm just a dumbass.
Brian, I swear to God, don't scare me
It's
like
okay,
that.
Brian.
But
Also,
yeah, so
total random note. One of their news stations is called Lance of Liberty, and it has like the little bee lancer, like the.
Oh, that's cute.
I don't know why. I saw that on the. was like,
I gotta
Lance of Liberty.
say,
thank
I
you,
think
Sugar
It's a
Rush.
buzzy
I'm
boy.
glad to know that you're always here for me.
I think that Winter got probably one of, at least in my opinion, one of the most iconic lines from the series at the end of this episode with the, I think Father just ignited the spark that'll set this kingdom on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just, it's like, okay, you're being really dramatic, Winter, but also you're not wrong.
Also fair.
Also valid.
See, here's the interesting thing about that is the fact that they had the violence start and then they just ended it between the episodes.
Yeah, they're a little like, we don't want to show like real world rioting going on, so we're just gonna cut that out. But
That kind of
that
annoyed
maybe
me, I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like they're gonna go back to rioting, only now there's gonna be Grimm involved too. Like I feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
as of next episode, we're gonna go back to the rioting.
Yeah.
You know,
they're
it's
not
funny.
they're not
it's,
done with the protests.
It's almost like we've already seen the next episode.
So speaking of which, I think it's time to move on over to that, which by the way, we have a whopping 17 minutes to cover it.
You know, I'm expecting this to go a little long, considering
See, we were
covering
going to
2
cut it
episodes.
shorter by killing you, Ian, but then you didn't die.
Yeah,
Yep.
as you may already be aware, rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated.
So I think real fast, again, to reiterate that we said at the beginning of this podcast, if you have not seen the newest episode, RWBY Volume 7, Chapter 6, A Night
Leave.
Off, leave or you're going to be spoiled. If you don't mind being spoiled, stick around. We're going to talk about some more thirsty moms right now. It's gonna be pretty
Are we,
great.
though?
We are, because they got
We
arrested
are.
for rioting. Like, there's literally a deliberate shot.
They
where
got arrested
show...
for rioting and then they got murdered.
Yeah. They made it
Oh,
out on
no.
bail. They're like, cool, I'm gonna go to this victory party, and then boy,
And dead.
yeah. But yeah, so Volume
So-
7, Chapter 6, A Night Off.
Yep.
People
so the
died,
Atlas
subtitle.
military has detained a lot of people in Mantle for the riots. And it's given Robin some bad press because a lot of the rioters were her supporters.
Hmm.
But she's like, I do not condone these actions.
And she says as she's literally like threatening military escorts.
I did
I
not
only-
have sexual relations with those rioters.
I only condone violence when it's against the military.
Only condone violence.
I
I'm
only
the one doing
condone I only condone violence when I'm doing it.
it. Yes.
I only
That's
condone
the
my
rule.
own violence.
But
Catchphrase.
Yeah. So yeah, a bunch of people got arrested for rioting. And then we've got kind of a little bit more of a training sequence, which
They like this training room. They're really fond of.
yeah.
you know, it's funny because it, you know, and James pointed it out to me, is it kind of looks like the box in VR chat.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of funny. I thought it was cool because at the very first shot they show Blake and Yang sparring. Blake and Yang were sparring with each other. And then we've got Winter and Weiss sparring again. And I gotta talk about this. I gotta tell a little story here. Is Katie sometimes jumps onto VR chat in desktop mode, and she runs around as the Weiss avatar from BlazBlue, which is the little like chibi Weiss, like super chibi Weiss. And she runs around yelling at people saying that she's gonna bite their ankles. And I think it's funny that Ankle Biter Weiss is now canon because Weiss uses her little Armagigas to smack Winter in the ankle and knock her down, and Winter looks pissed. Like
That's
she looks
cheating.
she looks at her like, "Listen here, you little shit." And I love that moment. Like she just genuinely looks so pissed off. It's so funny.
Now I have a message for Rooster Teeth,
Hmm.
and I don't want to be mean. I don't want to put anybody down, but RT, please, please, please. You've been doing this for years, and I really want you to stop. Stop grabbing random people from around the office to voice extras, please. Cause that your news interviewer that was interviewing Robin, like, was very, very clearly not a professional actor.
Oh my god.
Please.
This is like the bodyguard guy or the train guard guys from season 5 or no season 6. You were talking about for that.
Oh, you're talking about Tweedledee and Tweedledum?
Yeah,
Oh,
those
God.
guys. The one that like dies and nobody's like terribly sad about. He literally falls off the train to his death, and everyone's like, "Well, oh well."
Yep.
Beau, why did you have to put that in the chat?
Because Star sent it to me last night.
Damn it, Star.
Noseless Ruby is
Oh,
the best
God.
thing ever.
What the heck have you done?
Made her beautiful.
I like how Forrest changed his name to Fired per James. I literally just noticed that.
Well,
I didn't
that's
change
Ian. Ian did that.
Oh.
I had
It
that
was all
changed.
me.
So that is now. I guess I'm fired.
But yeah, so the team trains. Ruby does her multiple split semblance thing, and Oscar's like, "Yo, can we talk about the fact that you just split yourself into 3 pieces?" And Ruby's like, "Oh yeah, I guess I did do that, huh? Weird."
I guess. I don't. Is she even splitting herself into 3 pieces? I feel like her power is she turns into rose petals.
Yeah.
Well, she
Split yourself
there
into-
is definitely 3 deliberate pieces, though.
Yeah.
Well, I know. But like in the current engine, it's a lot more like her spinny, fast-moving thing is a lot more solid. But in previous
That's what it's called
seasons,
from now on.
it was more. Say what?
So that's what we have to call from now on, the spinny fat thing.
This is spinny fast
Well,
things.
the first time we really saw it look similar to how it looks now was actually in the food fight.
Yeah.
When she flies down the cafeteria and she like goes into her like drill form.
I'd like to say that we call it Pedal Cyclone.
Pedal
Pedal
cyclone.
Oh,
That's
God.
a good. Yeah, that works.
No.
So interesting about that is talking about semblances that have been evolving is Ren's semblance. We finally get a confirmation of what that weird white flash was in the first episode of this volume, which
Mhm.
was that Ren seems to be able to sense things or whatever have you. The interesting thing about it is that both times that we've seen it happen in this volume, it has happened when Clover was approaching. Specifically.
Maybe
Oh.
a sense of premonition just before something's about to happen.
Yeah, I think
E-
that's probably real. It's probably a premonition.
Either way, however, they're doing a lot of callbacks to volume 4 this volume, specifically that, they're talking about Ruby's semblance and she's able to split in 3, and they're like, have you always been able to do that? And the first time we ever saw her do that was in the volume 4 character short when she's fighting the Baron Girl.
Yep.
And an interesting thing is that the first time we saw Ren use this new evolved semblance was also in volume 4 when he sensed Tyrion approaching. There's this very deliberate shot of him closing his eyes and sticking his hand out like, hold on, and he senses that Tyrion is coming before Tyrion actually gets there.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that they showed it a while back, and I thought that was really cool that they're kind of touching onto that now.
Now, here's the question. Here's the real question. Do you think he's just able to sense people approaching, or do you think he's able to sense hostility?
I would guess
Interesting.
because we see in the the sort of background story of him and Nora, like how they met and what happened to his hometown, right? Is we see his semblances related to emotion, right? He can mask emotion or sense emotion in that way. So I would be willing to bet that it's more like he senses people's intentions like a second before something, or he senses not just that people are approaching, he can has really good hearing or something, but like he feels their emotions, kind of.
Yeah.
It would be my guess. I don't really have a whole lot to base that on other than, when he masks his and Nora's emotions to hide from the Nevermore. But
yeah, but see, and Ultra Godzilla fan says I don't think it's his semblance, except for the fact that we have confirmation that their semblances do evolve and have been evolving. So I would say until we get a confirmation that it's not his semblance, honestly, evidence really kind of supports that it is his semblance evolving. We don't know that they lose the ability to use their semblance as they previously did, but more so that they're able to kind of learn more ways to utilize it, or different ways to utilize it. So the fact that he's able to hide aura, I feel like it kind of makes sense that he's then able to also sense aura, maybe.
Yeah.
To kind of tie it into or make a reference to My Hero Academia here.
I was gonna say
one of the things that we learn in My Hero Academia is that you are allowed, when you register your quirk with the main database, you are allowed to update your quirk as needed as you learn more about it. As you learn more about how it works. You might think that your semblance is to be able to create water out of nothing, but then later on you realize, oh, actually my quirk is to be able to take water out of the air and manifest it all together.
So water bending.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, basically. or whatever. Some of the, especially in My Hero in particular, their quirks, semblances, but quirks, get very minutely specific. How it works and what's the sort of, what are the limitations on this? Oh, it only works on certain days of the week or something. It can be very specific. So
yeah,
we may not, our understanding of semblances in RWBY is a lot more general. They've never really addressed a lot of them, right? They just sort of see them.
And talking about semblances evolving, and this is something I know that we've heard them specifically say that summoning is their semblance for the Shnees. I honestly think that their semblance, because otherwise, realistically, I think the glyphs are actually their semblance, that they're able to use glyphs. However, specifically the glyph to summon their fallen foes is what is unique to the Shnees. Is that
Maybe
that's
there
the
are
thing that
other
they've
glyph users
only
out
been.
there?
Yeah,
I
I think
think
so.
I think that's a fairly decent hypothesis. Um,
So,
my,
but well, what I was trying to say is that essentially the Shnees, their semblance already kind of comes. Well, once they learn summoning, that is their evolved semblance. Like that, they're able to. They already know what their semblance is going to evolve into.
maybe that might be one of their more obvious signs, but that doesn't stop me from wanting to see what else they could pull out. Because just having it being summoning, like summoning is cool, but the knight is kind of just we've seen it do a couple things. I haven't seen too many epic things happen with the summoned knight.
You know, it's really dark, but I want to see Weiss or Winter kill a person and then summon them.
That would be nice.
Does that work? Or is it
I
just
mean,
Grim?
Weiss kills Winter, and then she summons Winter.
You know, there's an AU where, like, specifically throughout the years as Team RWBY progresses as Huntresses, each time that they go into a mission and one of them falls and one of them is about to die and they know that they can't be saved, they tell Weiss, I want you to deal the final blow so you can bring me back to your side whenever you need me. And so they make Weiss kill all of them. And then eventually, like, the art is Weiss sitting on an ice throne, and then she's got these ice versions of Ruby, Blake, and Yang standing around her. Necromancer Weiss confirmed.
Necromancer.
It's like, you know, technically, if Winter becomes the Winter Maiden through the machine, could she summon the Winter Maiden?
I don't know that would necessarily be killing her, though.
Yeah, because they have to strip their aura.
Be a
that would
bit
kill
more
them.
intimate.
But that would be whoever's pushing the button to say, "Hey, activate the machine," rather than like her actually sticking a dagger in her face or something.
I would think it would have to be even more intimate than that. Just pushing the button is impersonal. You're letting a machine do it. You're not delivering the mechanism of death.
It's kind of like lethal injection.
Like if you were like the person who did the lethal injection,
detached.
I guess that would kind of, like the main thing is like you're not doing any particular action. You're just making a machine do it for you, instead of like
I love how we're
that stabs the person that kills them and causes them to die.
I love how we're basically debating about how exactly Weiss's semblance differentiates the difference between a kill and an assist.
Yeah, basically.
Video game terms.
On that.
You know, we gotta actually get through this up.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, we need to get to the second episode, and we need to get into there real quick, real fast.
We are in the second
We're in
episode.
the second
Yeah, I know,
episode.
but we need to get like to the main meat. We need to get to the.
So, Ironwood is concerned that he won't be able to work with Robin, and they're like, "You should work with her," and he's like, "Nah, I don't wanna." And then he's like, "Oh, by the way, you have you're all getting a night off," and they're like, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "Yep, go have fun."
Yeah,
And then Bumblebee
GTFO.
makes bedroom eyes at each other.
Yeah, they do.
Fucking Yang looks directly at the Bella smiles. Just that one-sided smile. I'm just like, damn, Yang, thirsty much?
Thirsty moms, more like thirsty Yang.
So Yang and Blake are going
When
dancing.
was the last time Yang got some?
Shit.
Never, I don't think.
that
So
would
Yang
explain
and Blake are
everything.
going dancing. Weiss is going to see a movie with Jean and Oscar, and RWBY.
I gotta fast. I gotta talk about that because it's just like Oscar and Jean are like, "Hey, we're going to the movies. Does anyone?" And Weiss is like, "Yup," and just like goes with it.
Well, she takes a look at what the
I
other
don't
people
want
are
to be
doing,
a
and she's
fucking
like, I don't
third
want
wheel.
anything to do with that.
Well, I like how it's also like the awkwardness between Jean and Weiss has faded to the point where it's like it's not a problem because Jean's not like, oh yeah, Weiss is kind of cute because he's had the Pyrrha accident. So it's like it's not like Jean is gonna be like thinking of hitting on her or anything, and Oscar's there, so it's like it's gonna
She's
be
like,
casual.
she's all, "I'm safe. I'm safe from him flirting. His girlfriend died. I'm safe."
Oh my God.
Can we talk about how Yang seems to be intentionally trying to make Blake do that little cute chuckle? Because it's happening so frequently, it's got to be intentional.
It's so cute though. It's so
I-
precious.
I know, but you notice that Yang will say something that's funny, and then she'll look over at Blake, and Blake will do that little chuckle, and Yang's just looking at her like,
and then Yang tries to teach Blake how to Fortnite dance.
is that what that was?
Yeah.
Um,
It's
but-
the equivalent. It may not be actually flossing, but it's just as lame.
But yeah, so Ruby, Ren, and Nora are going to Robin's election party.
Oh
Mhm.
man.
Penny is going to be working security. Now, in the interest of time, we'll just kind of fly through this. Ruby seems to think that Ironwood is she seems to have like reserved herself to this, like Ironwood is telling the world about Salem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Nora speculates that maybe somebody else could beat Salem, not just Ozpin. Boy, it's not like we had that theory back like the episode it happened.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
like.
I'm glad that at least they acknowledge that though, because a lot of times shows will be like they'll foreshadow something so that the audience is like, this is definitely going to happen, and then like way later, characters like, oh, do you think that? No, that couldn't happen.
And then the
like,
audience is like,
no,
no,
my
shit,
cane is
Sherlock.
not a relic.
Yeah. So I like this. This is better. This is.
Yeah, there, and then Ren, but goddamn, my autocorrect, like earlier it was like it thought with Ren it was Ran, now it's saying it's 10. Jesus
God.
Christ, autocorrect. But Ren insists that they should be training right now, and Nora's like, no, let's have fun, and Ren's like, no, I'm gonna
No fun.
train.
You gotta wonder, what in the fuck is Ren's deal? Like this
So,
entire volume,
We're
he's
gonna
been a
we're
cold
gonna get to
fish.
that because I have a thing on that.
Same.
Now,
I-
He
Well, I
has
have
been
a
the
theory on
coldest
that,
of
so.
fish this entire volume. I'm like, what the hell to you?
so
Like, I know that you're usually not that emotional, but shit, dude.
so Penny is happy to see Ruby and crew. She's only with Marrow that night. Working this party. Nora's annoyed. Nora and Ren start arguing about whether or not Blake and Yang are a thing. It then very quickly turns into something else.
Yeah,
Ren's
whether
like, well,
Ren
maybe
and
one
Nora
of
are
them
a
feels
thing.
that way, but the other is worried. Nora's like, about what?
And,
You know-
and as they get into their couple fight, Ruby just teleports over to Penny, and she's like, "Get me out
Get me
anywhere
out
but
of
here."
like, but like hashtag more
I got-
things supporting Ruby as
I-
ace as fuck.
I gotta also mention, the dialogue that they have is, the friends, huh? Just friends? What else would they be? I think there's more going on.
Mhm.
In which
yeah.
Nora and Ren are the two halves of the fandom.
Brian,
Yeah.
to your
Well,
point
this
about
is yeah.
Ruby being ace, I think that's more that two of her friends are fighting and getting involved wouldn't do anything. Less of an I'm ace moment.
As an ace person, that was a very ace moment.
What
Like,
I'll tell you what was really funny is the fact that, like, it's interesting. I don't know if it means anything, but it's interesting how Penny asks Ruby who they're talking about, and then Ruby's like, I'm not really sure, even though it's very clear who they're talking about. And so it's just like, is that supposed to be a hint that shit ain't actually gonna happen? Like, I just
Well, no,
wondering.
like,
I'm
I
just
mean,
like,
it was-
Ruby doesn't see it clearly. So.
No. I took
No,
that
no,
as like
it-
Ruby
so-
is. Oh, you want to go?
they're talking about they're talking about Blake and Yang, right?
Mhm.
But then the way the conversation turns
They're
around, it starts to
projecting.
become
Oh, yeah.
more of like them projecting Blake and Yang onto themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So
which is
Ruby's
why
not
Penny's
sure.
like, who are we talking about? And Ruby's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
She's like, I stopped questioning it.
Yeah.
Too many couple arguments going on here. She's just not having any of this.
Yeah.
I will say, I know we're trying to like get through this quickly, and I hear I'm about to like throw up a big roadblock to that. But can we talk a little bit about? Because now this is like the first, I think, canonical moment where in the show another character acknowledges, oh yeah, Blake and Yang, they're a thing. There's something there, right? This is like canon moment number one, right?
No, my heartstrings. No, Black Sun. What's happening?
So
I'm the
I think-
same way.
I think this is a good opportunity to talk about how they're shipping this and how I think it's okay. So from my perspective, right? We have
Can we hold off on this a little bit because
A little
I
bit?
want to have
Yeah.
a whole shipping thing.
Yeah,
Alright.
go ahead.
Also, can we talk about the fist bump that Penny gives Ruby.
That was
Oh,
such a
typical
Tina
Penny.
moment, though.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah, it really was.
like the like afterwards. That was absolutely a Tina moment. Anyone that's hung
was.
out with Tina, it really reminded me of this time when she was Nora in VR chat, and she had she had the hammer on the model, right? And she was like,
Mhm.
"Look, guys, I'm gonna swing the hammer," and she swung it, and you just heard. And it was really funny. That's what that reminded me of.
Oh, Tina, never change.
We love you, Tina.
I just like how Penny like she squints at and she like lines it up.
Yeah, she
Very
like
precise.
winds back.
she's like targeting systems working.
Targeting systems locked
It's-
on.
It's like
Yeah.
Ruby Chibi all over again when she tries to do the cannonball and just like absolutely murders Ruby.
Yeah. But yeah, so them happy huntresses aren't very happy that Penny and Marrow are there.
Yep.
Not at all.
Can we talk about May Marigold?
Yes,
Yes. Obvious.
absolutely.
So there's one of two theories that I've seen. One that I'm kind of leaning more towards is that she might be Henry's sister or like sibling or some kind of relative. Another theory that's been bouncing around is that Henry might have transitioned, except for the fact that it's been less than 6 months. So unless their technology is really advanced, I don't know that he would have been able to transition that quickly.
Yeah, you never know, because I mean, we already know that Rooster Teeth likes to throw in seemingly instant gender transition technology.
You
into
know,
Genlock,
actually,
so-
real quick, since we're just mentioning this, I found a screenshot and I went into the episode myself and checked it out myself. And in the episode, actually the previous episode, when they showed Ivory from Team Funky, Ivory has top surgery scars.
Really
Mhm.
interesting.
Mhm.
Yep, you can see them on his chest or on their chest. So I thought that was really cool. Anyways, moving along, May Marigold,
There you go.
love her. She's real snarky. I kind of really want to cosplay her. I want to cosplay like everyone this volume.
What I really love is that as angry as the happy huntresses are, like Robin seems to be really open-minded. She's like, yeah, okay, you're here, that's fine, whatever. And she even says, if I get elected tonight, we're all gonna need to learn how to get along.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, she is signing up to be a politician. Like she's gotta be a little more wiggly than just like, no, you guys are bad. We don't like you. You know, it's like, well, we're gonna be working together, so
Yeah.
that's a thing.
And then she soon after, you know, because Marrow's kind of given her some shit of like, oh yeah, you're gonna do all this change legally, right? And she's like, everything I've done is legal, and I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah, that was definitely a wink, wink. Totally
Wink
on the level.
wonk.
Everything.
Yep.
I definitely don't want to cosplay Jacques, but okay.
Here's an interesting thing. Like and this is what I was going to bring up earlier. With Robin, she seems to have a very interesting public persona in that, and it seems like she intentionally kind of tries to woo the crowd by making herself more sympathetic than she might actually be. Like, for example, like she's like, yeah, I've never been one for public speaking, so I'm kind of nervous. I'm thinking, bull fucking shit, you are not nervous. Like, give me a break. Like that's
She stands down caravans with armed soldiers in them.
Yeah,
no,
it's like, you're not
probably.
nervous.
Well, I mean, there's a huge difference between being comfortable with standing up for yourself in a smaller setting and standing up in front of crowds. Like there was several hundred people there.
Yeah,
Like there is a
but-
very big difference between that.
Yeah,
But it
But she's
also
she's a revolution leader, right? She's rallied all these troops behind her. She's gotten all these protesters backing her. She's done some events before where she riles up crowds. Like that's the only
Yeah.
way she got to this position in the first place. So
yeah, I really do think that that's legit from her.
Well,
I think it's part of her image probably because you know how
it
politicians.
absolutely is because people want someone that they can relate to.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
yeah.
And, it's like
And
you
I
see
think it
that
also
Jacques
when-
did the same thing.
I think it also lends some credibility to that power of persuasion that she may have.
Yeah, it could be.
Like
Yeah, like I
how
say-
dangerous would that be for a politician to have a semblance where she can persuade people to do what she wants them to?
Can I also
pretty bad.
Can I also say, just straight up, that Fiona X Robin forever? Just saying.
Yes. Oh my
They're
god.
so
I love.
cute.
They're so soft. Like
Fiona's so adorable.
and like how Robin like looks down at her and is just like smiling, and like her like the little smile, and like how soft her gaze is, and how she just kind of watches her walk off before she starts talking. I was like, oh my goodness, I love them.
You notice how Fiona, when she's talking about how much Robin has devoted to the people and to the cause and everything, she starts like tearing up. It's like, I feel like she's like extraordinarily proud of her girlfriend. Like, that's honestly what that felt like to me.
Lamb girl is best girl. I've been saying this.
I'm just
Oh my
saying,
God.
did it not seem that way? You know?
It definitely look. I mean, not to jump ahead a little bit, but I'll just point out that Robin yeeted Ruby out of the way real fast.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take that
it's
as
like
a
you're doing-
compliment, Sugar Rush. Thank you.
You're doing CPR wrong, Ruby. Let move over. I know what I'm
It's
doing.
it's like when Weiss got stabbed all over again. It's
Oh,
just
yeah, that.
like moving Jean's hands off. Don't stop what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's something between those two. Just say.
It may be more like a mentorship kind of thing. Like, again, these are her hand-picked, squad, right? But
Kind of starts to
Yeah.
sound like Lamb Girl is gonna pull his.
Well,
Please don't let her be like Bellwether.
Well,
So-
here's the thing though, is there's a theory bouncing around, is that, Lamb Girl, what if, and Brian, you're not gonna like this, what if Neo tries to infiltrate Robin's inner circle
no.
He'll-
as Lamb
no,
Girl.
Yeah.
as Lamb Girl, and then it would be a
Yes.
wolf in sheep's clothing?
Yes.
I was
Yes.
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 God.
Yes.
Is
That is
kinda
called
he's a
Brian
dog,
pulling
he's a
his
wolf.
best Yamato impression.
Yeah,
Like
sacrificial lamb.
when
Oh, no.
what was her name? Lisbeth was doing
Yeah,
the
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth was doing the story.
It was a year ago. No.
He goes, no. Please
The
don't say
sacrificial
another
lamb.
word.
Yeah, so gotta go back to my notes here. So yeah, Ruby gets kicked out. They're like, we got work to do, get out of here, kid. And then she's like back to dealing with Ren and Nora, and she's like, I should have just stayed home.
And at this point, I'd like to point out, if you've been paying attention, not to like all the action and the characters and the cute Lamb Girl or whatever, in the background, the
Don't you or
percentages-
whatever, the cute lamb girl. Carry on.
Whatever.
Wow.
In the background, the percentages of who's winning this election keep going
Oh man.
the opposite way. It's
Yeah.
kind of strange.
Mhm.
Ever
Oh my
so
god!
slightly.
Stop autocorrecting to 10. His name is Ren.
When I was watching with Katie, like every time the numbers like changed, she was just like,
Now here's the thing though. Okay, I do not think that Watts actually interfered until the very end, and the reason why is that what you see on the board right there is pretty normal for any election ever. Because if you're dealing with multiple districts, multiple precincts, then depending
People come in to
on-
vote after work.
Well, not
Mhm.
only that, but then you also have the fact that it's very common for a county or a state to swing wildly one direction from the get-go because you have so many different districts and stuff like that, and it depends on what's counted first, how many people are
Right.
in those districts, how far they swing one
Right.
direction,
And
the
how
other.
far
So-
it takes, like, when the polling data is coming in from what districts, and if it doesn't
Right.
get called, like, assuming, I don't know if Atlas and Mantle have mail-in ballots or anything, we'd see, but
Yeah.
like even weeks later, the voting can change a little bit because you're getting all these extra
realistically, Watts would have only had to have shifted it like 1 or 2% for him to win.
Probably.
And-
It was
and,
probably
like,
very close.
Now I could be wrong about this. My understanding is that for whatever reason, you've like Democrats tend to vote earlier and Republicans tend to vote later, at least here in
That's
the
true.
U.S. So they could have been maybe like mimicking something like that.
That could be. I don't know.
I
Well, that may have to do with like locality too, because rural
Mhm.
areas in the U.S. tend to vote Republican, and city areas tend to vote Democrat. So you end up like from the rural areas, it takes longer to get voting data from. I think.
Oh,
That's true.
That could be a good point. Yeah.
And it also depends on like what district is
Uh-huh.
counted first, and how wildly they swing, and how
Yeah.
many people are in that district, because it always happens that way, where you'll have somebody way ahead at the very outset, and then it'll even up toward the end. Like
Mhm.
Right.
that's typically how it goes.
So what this little screen they have needs is not just the percentage of where they are at right now with the polls, but also the percentage of ballots counted, right? Because if it's like, oh, only 20% of the ballots are in, well,
Right.
then these numbers could vary dramatically.
Yeah.
We don't know yet, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's get into this. Renora.
The smooch.
Yes. Ren, what's going on? Why won't you just talk to me? Well, talking is over now.
Well, so here's the thing about that though, is with the the hints that we've been getting of Ren's semblance potentially shifting and evolving, is he's very much so turning into an empath, is really what he's turning into. Who's to say that for whatever reason, Atlas of all places, and it would make sense, it wouldn't surprise me, with him becoming more empathic, who's to say that his shift in emotion isn't coming from the fact that there's so much negative energy in the air in Atlas?
See, that's entirely possible.
Yeah.
And this is why I wanted to get into a discussion with this, because I know that everybody's super excited about Renora. I honestly put this into the category of I buy the outcome, but I don't see how we got there.
I mean, they've been canon since Volume 4, so
They held hands.
They
confirmed in RWBY Rewind and in interviews that they were canon since Volume 4. Like the ending of Volume 4, they were officially dating.
Right, but this seemed very clearly like the first time they've done this. Like, this was a big deal. And so I personally, like, they might have confirmed that, like, yes, Renora the ship is canon. I don't think that that was necessarily a confirmation that they're together now. And so my issue with this is it really stems from the argument, right? Like, how this decision led up for Nora to be like, I'm just gonna fucking kiss him. And because this is first of all, the shut up and kiss me, you fool, that's a long time movie cliche. And it's a good damn cliche when done right. And I just don't understand. I think a lot of it stems from the fact that I do not understand where this thing about Ren being so standoffish came from. We had little hints of it earlier on in the season, but it never really, like, the most prominent of which being him ignoring Nora when they're on their first mission with the Aesops. But
which we sort of chalked up to being like, well, hey, we're on a mission.
Exactly.
Right? Like, it's okay to, it's like, all right, we can't do that thing right now.
Like, it really didn't stand out to me as Ren acting differently than he was previously. And then this episode is the first time we're really seeing Ren and Nora like get into some real arguments. And Ren's line specifically of like, can we not do this now, implies that they've been arguing beforehand. But I'm like, wait, when were they arguing beforehand? What were they arguing beforehand? Why are they like this? Like, it really kind of seemed to come out of left field with this episode, and it really felt like this argument only happened so that they could have the shut up and kiss me you fool moment.
It could be.
I'll counter that. I'm not saying you're wrong, but it was implied to me in everything that's gone on lately. I'm not saying that it was very explicit, but it definitely felt like there was stuff going on behind the scenes that was not necessarily being shown on screen that was going on between Ren and Nora, which is why, for me, when I saw this going on, it's like, okay, I kind of buy this.
Well, what exactly were you seeing, though?
Like what was going on with Ren and Nora, like him just not necessarily being receptive to what Nora was saying at certain times. It just seems like something
Can
else.
you give an example of that?
It was during
Because
the mission, and there was at least one other moment that I can think of, but I can't tell you the episode. It
see,
just
my biggest problem is that uh, it's not for something like this. It's not enough to have just little moments. Perhaps if you had a lot of little moments scattered over time, but it was specifically Ren's line saying, "Can we not do this right now?" I would have loved to see 2-3 episodes back them doing more arguments like what we were seeing.
Yeah.
To sort of
Right.
set that up
To
instead
set-
of just tell
to
us,
set
oh,
that
by
up.
the way, off screen some stuff's been happening, but we
Now-
haven't shown you.
Right. Now, if the argument had been longer, and we had dug a little bit more like into kind of like because it dug a little bit more into what has really been happening, why Ren is like this, what exactly is going on. Dug a little bit deeper into Ren's thoughts, dug a little bit deeper into Nora's thoughts, regarding this argument. I think that also could have sold it too without that setup.
Mhm.
But that that would have required extending the argument out, and we
Yeah.
saw well, first of all, I mean, how do we solve this problem? Ian, what am I gonna say?
say again, Brian. I was too busy trying to find evidence from our
We
argument.
need to so in order, without the other setup from the other episodes, in order to make this work, we need to extend this argument out to better explain why Ren is feeling this way, why Nora is feeling this way, what the actual problem is that they're arguing about, because I never really fully understood what they were arguing over. So we need to extend the argument out, but they didn't. How do we solve this problem, Ian? What am I going to say?
Runtime.
More runtime!
But we've also gotten into that argument of how expensive more runtime would be for
Right,
them.
and
We got into
I-
like
I
a 15, 20-minute argument on it, yeah.
I
So
don't
and
even think
what I
that-
find interesting, what I find really interesting, right, is that last week's episode was 20 minutes long when normally we've been getting an 18-minute runtime. So we got
Mhm.
2 extra minutes last week, but then this week's was 2 minutes shorter
Shorter,
with 16. So they do seem to have a very clearly defined runtime this season, unlike it seems like in previous seasons.
Yeah.
Where they are trying to hit that 18-minute mark every week, and when they go over, that means they have to go under on another one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's basically, yes, we've talked about previously why more runtime is a more expensive, or is an extraordinarily expensive proposition. But I think the problem is that without that runtime, we're seeing results like this, where I know that everybody wants to jump up and down and be happy and go, "Oh, Renora, it finally happened!" But I was sitting there going, "God, with 2 more minutes, that scene could have been so much better."
Yeah.
I could have felt so much more solid about why Ren and Nora are arguing, and how we actually got to this moment of Nora being like, "I'm just gonna fucking kiss him," because it really just kind of felt phoned in to me. And what kind of really blows my mind with it is that now I know that romance is not the point of RWBY, right? RWBY is an action adventure show. I get it. But what surprises me is that previously they've done romance so well. How they set up Arcos and the issues there, and what led, Pyrrha to come to that decision of, I'm just going to kiss him, right? That was built up to so well over the course of multiple episodes, multiple seasons, even, that when they finally hit that point, it was like, yes, not only do I buy the outcome, I 100% buy how we got here, I see how we got here, it all makes sense. And this to me was a case of like, yes, obviously we know Renora was going to be canon. That's why, like, we've seen them building to that forever. So that's why I buy the outcome. But in this particular moment of what led up to Nora finally just going for it, I do not see how in this exact moment we made that final step. So that's really my biggest thing.
That's your bone to pick.
That's my bone to pick with this episode. And Forrest, you had some other shipping thing that you wanted to talk about.
I did. Not to jump right into another ship war over here about Black Sun or Bumblebee, but they've clearly now canonically established Bumblebee, right?
Yeah.
I talked about it. So, and I, in sort of the same vein, like I know they've, especially this season, they've really been leaning hard on that, and I like what they've done so far, but I think we have to address some of the stuff they set up in previous seasons to really sell that to me properly, because we have two like Blake has been in an established heterosexual relationship, right? Like they didn't really, they've danced around like actually calling Adam her boyfriend, and it's also awkward because he's like way older and he was very manipulative, and that's just the case. Not a healthy relationship, but certainly a relationship she's had, right?
Right.
And then the whole thing with Sun, which I know, we've talked a little bit about on the podcast about how maybe that was more of a platonic thing. They certainly sort of tried to throw it that way when they parted in Volume 6, right, at the train station. Sun's like, really, it wasn't about that, right? I don't know if I buy that from the first couple of seasons we see them in, at least from my perspective. And granted, that's, I'm I am a very straight person. Just for better or worse, So from my perspective, I didn't read into it that way, like as a platonic sort of thing. I definitely read that as a very, like budding romance kind of thing, that just sort of got dropped. So we have Blake, who's a very established, heterosexual character, and then Yang is an interesting case. Yang has mentioned, I think, in one of the earlier seasons, it was Volume 1 actually, where she mentions there being hunky boys around at the school or something, but doesn't really, it's just like an offhanded comment. And she does show up to the party alone, right? We see a lot of this relationship nonsense in Volume 2 with, who's, Jean gonna go with, and who's Weiss gonna go with, this whole mess. And Yang just kind of, like, she's more concerned about Blake at that point. Sort of writing on the wall a little bit, maybe. But we do, and then I think the most interesting scene for me with Yang is when we first meet Team Funky, who I'm very glad to see again, because I really wanted to see her dynamic with Neon again. Because Neon is sort of, to me, the way I read their relationship or their interactions during the fight, as like Neon's dancing rainbow circles around her or whatever, is she's kind of poking at Yang. And she's kind of, because to me, Yang feels very much like if she is, if she is gay, she's not like aware of it very well. Like she doesn't understand that yet. And so Neon's kind of like, she sees that and she's kind of poking at Yang like, hey, hey, you. So I would like to see, I'm really, when they said, we're going to a dance party with Team Funky, I was like, yes, we're going to get a Yang and Neon moment. Neon's going to be like, so have you ever thought about ladies? Like we were going to get that moment. And I don't know that we will now that all heck has broken loose.
I want to say something, but I really can't because it was a leak that happened. So.
Oh, you're gonna have to tell us after this if we want to know.
I do want to say, coming from a different perspective, I have always loved the friendship between Blake and Sun. I was really honestly in love with the fact that there was finally this very close male-female friendship that wasn't a relationship, that wasn't turned into something romantic, that was proof that there can be a man and a woman who are very good friends and not be fucking. Like, because you don't honestly see a whole lot of that. It's almost always, we're friends. We've been friends for years. And we suddenly develop feelings for each other and we're in a relationship. And sure, that happens in real life. But like, Brian, you're my best guy friend, and like, no offense, but I don't want to date you. Like,
Also, I am quite literally the opposite of your type, Beau.
I mean, yeah, you're a dude.
Fair enough.
Doesn't matter what I'd try, it's not gonna happen. I might as well not try. Like,
And so it's like it's really like the first time I really even heard about Black Sun being a thing was really honestly during like volume 4. Like up until that point I was just like, oh, like he flirted with her a little bit, but then like once they opened up and everything and he heard about this like abusive past that she had, that he kind of was like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna respect her boundaries and let her be the one to make a move if she does decide. If not, I'm just gonna be her friend. And I always interpreted it as never really going on past the friendship. And
well, maybe there's two different perspectives on that. Like maybe Blake was never there, but because you said like Sun says, you know, in your head, it seems like Sun is like, oh, you know, if she's willing to go there, sure, but if she's not, then you know we can just be friends, and I'm cool with that. Like maybe you know there could be an imbalance in that sort of sense, right? They have perspectives on.
yeah, you know,
This
perhaps.
is what I do have a note to make. This is what makes this so interesting: is the difference in perspective between several different people. Because I side with Forrest. Like I was, as soon as Sun showed up and started doing his things, like, yep, I like it. And then as time progresses, like Sun's like, dude, man, you are checking all the right boxes for me, man. This would be a fun ship.
And you know, it's funny. I shipped. I shipped Freezer Burn from the beginning. Like I've shipped Freezer Burn from the get go, and so I felt so validated in Volume 5. But you know, I was always really kind of conflicted because like I also kind of low key liked Monochrome and whatnot, like the whole, you know, opposite ends of the spectrum being on opposite sides of the fight and then, you know, kind of uniting together and whatnot. But you know, Freezer Burn was really my main ship for like Weiss and Yang. And I didn't really develop an actual ship for Blake until Ilya was introduced, which was not like, oh, these two chicks are on opposite sides, I want them to get together, I want it to be like angsty and whatnot. But like learning, especially after the Ilya short where Blake is in it, after that short, I really kind of was like, I was already getting those vibes because like, you know, as someone who, you know, kind of really struggled with my own sexuality before I kind of came to terms with it and realized that I was gay. Like, and it's something that Erin even posted on her Twitter is that, you know, we've all kind of like a lot of gay kids experience that feeling of falling for the friend that doesn't, it's not even necessarily that they're not also gay. It's that you fell for the friend that only sees you as a friend. You know, and it's love is the worst feeling when it's unrequited, and it really like that was kind of the whole like I ship them like in the past. Really, I don't necessarily have a current ship for Blake as it stands romantically. I mean, now that Ilya's kind of redeemed herself, I would of course love to see them get back together, but that's obviously not gonna be a thing. And I concede that.
That's a drunken one night stand at most.
Oh my God.
Listen.
But so anyways, where were you going with this?
Oh, I was going with the fact that like
no, I meant Forrest.
Oh.
I mean, if you were going someplace too, Beau, go for it. But
oh no, what I was just gonna say is that like Bumblebee really kind of grew on me after they were separated too. Was, you know, seeing kind of that there was almost, to me, obviously this is my interpretation of it, there was this development that was going on behind the scenes that didn't have to have either of them in a scene together, even have them on the same continent together. Is that there were these very deliberate moments of like Blake and Yang having like parallels of like you know, thinking about each other, talking about each other, and this like growing romance, growing story between the two of them that was happening from afar, which made their reunion that much more heartfelt to me.
Right. Now, I will point out though that with that, I think the key thing you said there without being a scene together, but we still got those scenes. We still got the scenes of Yang thinking about Blake in whatever capacity, angry that she left, whatever, Blake thinking about Yang. That like we still had those scenes that was still on screen, a moment specific to that thought process that was dedicated to the audience.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, show don't tell, right?
Yeah.
Don't just assume that your audience is up to speed, up to date. And so like I'll let you get back to your thing in just a second here, Forrest. Like, but to kind of like, hit on the Renora thing as an example, right? My best guess as to what happened, aside from them maybe potentially having to cut things for time, is because I know that this is something that is really, really easy for writers to get bogged down in, which is why it's always best to, have your stuff proofread by people who have had nothing to do with the writing process. Is that sometimes as a writer, you will have these ideas in your head, like, oh yeah, Ren and Nora have been arguing all the time. This is like, and they've been arguing about this thing. This is something that you as the writer know. So when you write that scene where Ren and Nora are arguing and Nora's like, I'm fucking done with this, and just kisses him, that makes perfect sense. It feels like the most natural thing in the world, because in your head, you're like, oh yeah, they've been arguing forever, and this is exactly what they've been arguing about, and this is why they've been arguing. But you forget that you haven't actually told your audience all that information yat.
Your headcanon isn't on paper, basically.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you need that like that pair of eyes that has not been in your head to go, wait, this doesn't make sense to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
No. Like that's a really easy thing to happen. But anyways, so what were you saying about Bumblebee, Forrest?
Right. So I was just saying, like, we have sort of, we have some backstories established. I mean, we can argue about the Black Sun thing, whether that's platonic, whether it's romantic. I mean, my point would simply be that, he did, like, jump on a boat to follow her across an ocean, across a continent to go. That's a level. There's, like, friend level dedication, and then there's following the person across the ocean. That would be my only thing on that. But, again, we can argue about that, but I think I would like to see more of this established, because we have seen these characters, or at least we've seen Blake, in established heterosexual relationships. I think I'd like to see more of them, like, rather than just kind of assuming that, oh yeah, they're totally a thing now, right? And they both just kind of like, yeah, okay, cool. To actually see them come to that realization a little bit more, which is why I thought it'd be really cool to have this, a moment with Teeny Funky or something to sort of establish that canonically. But that's just kind of my thing on that. Like, I think I need to be sold a little bit more on the ship.
I think
they're going to make it canon.
I think you just helped me realize what my biggest problem with the way they've been handling Bumblebee has been. Because every single Bumblebee moment that they've had, I haven't felt great about it. Like, I go, oh, like, I know exactly what this moment is. This is them just trying to better establish. Like, I can feel that, like, yes, this moment is here to further establish Bumblebee. Like, it feels very direct, and I've been kind of like trying to be like, man, why do I feel weird every single time one of these Bumblebee scenes comes around? Why do I feel like this isn't genuine, if that makes sense? And like, or why do I feel like this is trying too hard? And I think the answer to that is that every single time those scenes come around, it's just these little moments of just establishing, like, oh yeah, by the way, Blake and Yang are getting closer. They're like, Yang is teaching her a dance. Oh, Yang is blushing with Blake's new look. Like, we've just had it's just been these little Bumblebee moments, but we haven't actually had a scene that has really sat us down and gotten us inside the characters' heads. This thought process has not been laid out for us. It's just kind of been shown in these little iterations. And, whereas and so it kind of feels weird, because I'd much rather like to have a scene where Yang and Blake sit down and they have a deep conversation where you can feel that bond,
Mhm.
you know, taking place. Like you can feel how Yang is kind of, you know, helping Blake emotionally in this way, or how Blake is helping Yang emotionally in that way. Like, and you can see why they're so close, and not just showing, oh yeah, they're close now.
Yeah.
I will say I really liked your argument, Forrest, about the,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what if, you know, not to put it in terms that are kind of humorous and whatnot, but what if Blake is Yang's gay awakening? Like maybe he
yeah.
never had, you know, feelings for a woman before, but and so she's still in that, because I'm gonna be real. When I first realized I was gay, the girl that made me realize that I was gay, my first and foremost thought was, man, why do I want to like be her best friend? Like,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it's so weird to try to interpret those feelings when you don't understand what they are. And so I'm almost curious if that might be what they're trying to do, albeit not the best way possible. But I kind of would love to see it kind of more from that aspect of that Yang is just doing her best to try and, you know, be close to Blake and just enjoy her company. And she doesn't necessarily understand it until someone else kind of points out of like, man, you are falling so hard for that girl. And she's just kind of like, oh my God, you're right.
Yeah,
It's like
I think,
Neon,
and I
yeah.
think Neon could absolutely be that character.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
You
yeah.
were all over her on the
'Cause
dance
Neon
floor. Are you
has-
guys like together?
Because Neon has literally zero feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? You know what it is, Forrest? It's the fact that while it might, like, so this was something that I warned about earlier, like literally in the pre-show, where I was like, I'm fine with Bumblebee becoming canon just so long as it's developed over time. And that's what they're like, and because I don't want them to just come out of the gate like, so we murdered a guy, let's fuck. Right? Like, and so
It's kind of how it's been.
and originally I was like, I see that they are trying to avoid that, but then I realized just now that I think that they still fell into a pitfall where that's kind of along the same vein, where it's like, okay, they might not be together yet, but even still, just after, you know, them killing Adam, we weren't really shown them all of a sudden, like seeing like them like start talking to each other more, and like get like, it was just all of a sudden, oh, they're close now. You know,
Yeah.
it's not they're fucking, but it's just, yes, all of a sudden they're close now, and we're just, yeah, we didn't really get to see how that development happened, which is why. And so there's an element of what's happening internally in the head of Yang, in the head of Blake, that we're missing, and that's why every single time we get one of those little Bumblebee moments, it feels weird, because we don't yet understand the depth behind it, exactly how we got there, and it really, I don't know, maybe they think that them, you know, going through these experiences together, having to kill this dude that's, you know, really fucked up both their lives, like that's enough for them to bond and be close. I don't buy it.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean,
I mean, that
it's-
is certainly
I mean, I feel like I would
bond.
bond with. I feel like I would bond with someone if I murdered someone with them.
I mean,
Well,
yes,
it's a
absolutely,
big
but I want to
bonding
hear them. I
experience.
want to hear them talk about it. I want that. I want to see more demonstration of them feeling that comfort with each other. You know, because, you know, they've been through this experience together, but we haven't really been shown that. It's just like, oh yeah, now they're just hanging out all the time. You know,
Yeah.
oh, you know, like it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's another case of I buy the outcome, I don't buy how we got there.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree
I-
with that.
yeah.
I mean, the whole the whole thing about it is, it does seem like it is. I think, I don't remember if it was you or Beau that said this to me first, but it feels like I think it was Beau. It's almost like they were like, oh shit, wait, they're supposed to be together. Oh fuck. Let's make it happen really quick. And it's just like,
Yeah,
the fuck you talking about? Like, y'all is like, everybody, I think everybody, even some of the more ardent Bumblebee shippers have been saying, it's like, this is really weird, because
Mhm.
it's like, this has happened, like, I want this to happen, but it's really quick. Like,
yeah.
and everybody was expecting them to go into this season, having all these issues over, how they deal with what they had just done. But instead, in this first episode, it's like, I don't remember, it was the first or second episode, whenever they got to Ironwood's place, and he was like, we got to get your weapons suited up because some of you, got them broken or whatever. And you just see Blake kind of go, "Oh yeah, I killed that guy earlier, lol."
Well, so here's
that's
here's
all
the thing.
you got out of that.
Here's the thing
He's,
about
like,
that.
grinning.
Bill.
I'm just thinking, you guys haven't really processed what you've done yet, have you?
Here's the thing
Not
about
on
it,
screen,
though,
they haven't.
is all things considered, I don't think they regret killing him.
No, I don't think they regret it. But
I don't think they
no.
regret killing him, and I think, honestly, if any of the RWBY girls were going to commit a murder in self-defense and be able to walk away from it mentally together, it would have been Blake and Yang.
Yeah.
I don't think
probably.
Ruby or Weiss would have been able to handle doing what they did. Like,
I agree.
we see Ruby in this episode freeze up because she has blood on her hands.
Yeah.
I would say Yang.
Like,
Blake would be so worried about becoming a monster.
No,
Whereas-
like I'm with you, Beau. Like I don't think that they regret doing what they did, but they still, like, they pointed out even in this episode with what Nora says, like, they've been through a lot. Like, they've been through some really heavy shit, and yes, that's going to bring people closer, but we haven't. It hasn't been shown to the audience really how that's brought them closer. They've just been all of a sudden closer.
What I
Yeah,
think
we haven't had that conversation.
Yeah.
What I
Screen.
think is going to happen is in this next episode, I think what we see is we're going to have them reverse time a bit and go and see what Blake and Yang were doing at the same time. That they were at the
I
political
hope
rally.
so.
And then they'll continue it past the junction point and have them start fighting, and then have the other people start fighting too, I would imagine.
I really hope they do.
Probably what they're going to do, because I doubt they're actually just going to skip that scene. But I mean, you never know, I guess. My thing is, if this is going to happen, they've got to confront what. And the thing is, like, Yang, I don't think is going to have a whole lot of. Blake might, and I know that sounds crazy, but let's be real. When someone's in an abusive relationship, even if they do what they have to do, that it doesn't matter what it is, they're going to feel, but very likely they're going to feel guilty for whatever they did in response and self-defense and whatever, because of all the gaslighting, of all the manipulation, of all the rest of it. They're made to feel bad for doing anything against the will of their significant other that was abusing them. And so it's like, well, you would imagine that Blake might actually feel bad.
well, except for the fact that Blake had already gotten past her point of recognizing that he was abusing her and getting away from him.
Well,
She was to the point of, I'm not going to let you abuse me anymore.
Yes and no. She
Yes
still
and no.
broke down in tears after the final blow was dealt.
Yeah, because he
because she was
still-
finally free from him.
No,
that's
that
not
was
why.
sadness.
She I wouldn't say it was sadness, but what I will say is I think Adam very plainly still had immense power over her, because all it took was for him to remind her of how she broke her promise to him, quote unquote, and that's what made her break down. It's like all it took was that little reminder. That shows you how much power he had over her, even to that day.
When did she break down?
Right after they kill him.
She
Well,
was like,
no,
I
she
swear
didn't-
I won't break my promise. I swear, I promise. Like, she was like crying her eyes out over it. And it's like, all it took was him mentioning it. Like, he didn't even have to do it. All he had to do was mention it, and she broke. After the adrenaline drop, she broke.
She didn't. I never interpreted it as, oh, she broke because of what Adam said. I interpreted it as she broke because she was finally free from her abuser, and she was worried that he had put the seed of doubt into Yang's head, thinking that she was lying to her. I never interpreted it as, oh no, like I broke my promise to him. What if I break my promise to her? Blah blah blah, or like breaking down because of her being afraid of breaking her promise. I always interpreted it as I'm scared because he put that seed of doubt in Yang, and what if Yang doesn't believe me anymore?
I don't think that it was. I don't think that she broke down because she was feeling this sense of relief of being free from her oppressor. I think
agree with that.
I think I'm with James. I think that he still held immense power over her, and I think that there were so many emotions flying at her at once that once the battle was over and she no longer had to worry about protecting herself, it all came rushing in at once, and it was just uncontrollable.
Yeah, once
I
that
think
adrenaline
I would
dropped-
agree with that. Yeah.
Once
I'd
that
say, and
adrenaline dropped, yeah.
just to sort of not to sort of like take the middle ground and argue that all of you guys are right, but I think all of you guys are right. I think it was a lot of that, right? There was this seemed to me like, just that flood of emotions of, yes, relief that she's finally free of him, grief and shock at the thing they had done and how horrible, and just so there was a lot of emotions just boiling over, I think.
Yeah, because she definitely neither of them wanted to kill him. I think that's something that people seem to kind of forget is they were willing to let him live, to let him walk away if he would just leave them alone.
Yep.
Like they didn't go into that fight with the intention of, okay, we're going to kill this motherfucker because he won't leave us alone. It was, okay, we're going to give him one last chance to leave us alone, because if he doesn't, it's literally our lives on the line, because he said it right here and now that he's not letting us walk away from this.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's true. The thing is, Beau, I completely see your point, at least part of it, when you're talking.
You're cutting out.
Say again.
What I was saying is that I agree with a part of your point, Beau, when you're saying Adam may have actually planted a seed in Yang's mind, but that's where my agreement with you stops. And the reason why is that if Blake is that worried about one line from Adam doing that to Yang, she knows exactly how powerful his psychological manipulation tactics are. And so that is a total fear that he's put into her.
I would say
because she knows how bad.
I would say it was more that Yang was also a victim of Adam, and so he does have that power over her, but not in the same way that he had of her.
Exactly, because the thing is, and I pointed this out in B7's chat, is that Blake was physically and emotionally abused by Adam, whereas Yang's only encounter with Adam up until the point where they fought him again was a 5-second rowdy down. I mean, that's all. That's all. The only thing from Adam that traumatized her was cutting her arm off.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a pretty big impact.
Well, yes, but consider that's a huge impact. Don't get me wrong, and yeah, obviously she had PTSD and everything, but compare that to years and years of psychological and physical abuse.
It's not the same thing as years of psychological
but
abuse.
people deal with trauma differently. It's not fair to compare a person drowning in 3 feet of water is just as dead as someone drowning in 30.
I think what I don't disagree with you, but I think what James is trying to say is that you literally just said it, is that people deal with trauma differently. Yang's source of trauma was not less than Blake's, but it was a different form.
Yeah,
like
completely.
she feared physical, retribution from Adam, because he dealt such a huge physical blow to her. She wasn't necessarily worried about what Adam said to other people and getting in other people's heads, but that's what Blake was worried about, because that's the type of damage that Adam did to Blake.
Because she knows his manipulative tactics and things like that.
And Adam also had indefinitely longer time to break Blake down over and over and over and over again. Whereas, with Yang, he had 5 seconds.
But I think that we see this in the fight, like their different styles because they both overcome, they overcome Adam not just by killing him, but Blake overcomes him emotionally. Yang overcomes him by, feigning the same attack that he used to cut her arm off, and then she tricks him.
Yep.
Right, and we attributed this at the time to she's evolved, he hasn't. Right, he's still stuck in the past, and she's moved forward. She's evolved and changed. Right. So she beats her fear of Adam by evolving her combat style, reading his moves, and outflanking him. And then Blake's sort of victory in that, I don't remember exactly like the dialogue that is exchanged, but my best guess is that just having Yang there to fight by her side and having Yang say, "No, I'm not going to back down this time. This is my friend. I'm sticking with her," was enough to sort of, push her in that direction of maybe his manipulation doesn't work. Maybe he can't just split us up by saying mean things, like, Yang is here by my side. We're going to fight him together.
Yeah.
This isn't just my battle. I don't have to do this alone kind of thing, which is her, running away from her problems kind of deal. Right. So,
Yeah.
I think they both overcome Adam's abuse of them in different ways.
So-
Yang in a more physical way, Blake in a more emotional way, and then
We are
eventually
very
they kill him.
much past our normal time when we're talking about last
Yeah.
season.
Totally
So
different
let's-
season.
let's-
Let's
Like,
come
I'm
back
def-
to the present
I'm
moment.
definitely down to continue this conversation any other time, but we need to finish this episode.
Yeah.
So Renora happened, boom, they
Yep.
kissed, and then shit hits the fan.
And then
Yeah,
Watts
so
does his
Watson, I like
puppeteer.
to say Watts and Tyrion go to work with their professional fuckery.
Yeah, they really do.
Also,
Oh,
Dr.
yeah.
Watts is using a bunch of
How many
limit of
phones does he
iPhones?
have?
So
You know what I
someone
think
pointed
that,
out in the chat earlier that they're the scrolls of the people that they've been killing.
Are
Okay,
they?
that's nice. But he's basically saying that he's
I have a
hacking the
different
Poland
theory.
stuff with
I have
a bunch of
I have a-
iPhones.
I have a different theory. My theory is that the modelers didn't want to model a new thing.
But
Could be.
the thing
I
is,
mean,
like, you're telling me that Dr. Watts is hacking the election results with a couple of iPhones?
Yeah, like
yeah.
kidding me?
I mean,
Well, here's what's
Why not?
interesting. Here's what's interesting is the fact that also I don't know if he was editing that damn God damn it, Beau. If he was editing that shit as Tyrion was going, it kind of looked that way because you see him like it reminded me very much of the Major from Helsing in Helsing Ultimate, of how as Tyrion was carving people up, he's just over there like dancing, which reminded me of the Major on top of the that
oh yeah,
like orchestrating the chaos, and that's
Yes.
that was kind of what it looked like.
I
Watts was doing.
got Puppet Master vibes.
Yeah,
I got
wonder
both.
if that's what he
He's
was
like,
doing.
like both puppeteering and like conducting, like he's puppeteering an orchestra kind of thing. Like I got a little of both vibes from his movements,
Mhm.
yeah.
especially
So-
with the different, like the different are kind of like keys.
Yeah.
Plus, we finally got to see Tyrion. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
so the-
which is let's be not a surprise.
Yeah, so the lights go out. Tyrion goes on a massacre.
And
Thirsty
things
moms,
go bump
no!
in the night.
Yep.
Penny tries to stop him. Tyrion takes out Lamb Girl, cuts straight through her aura, which
So-
we're thinking is apparently
thinking that's a
we're
semblance?
thinking is a semblance.
He's got a shield. He has a shield piercer. That's
Yep.
Yep, he's got a
Shields.
armor breaker.
Perfect assassin
And,
level ability.
And then
Yep.
and then Tyrion fucks off just as the lights come back up, leaving Penny on stage in attack mode. Oh no, they pulled a volume 3 on us.
It's a bunch of
I
people
guess
all
I
dead on
mean,
the floor.
Penny said it in episode 2. It's like Beacon again.
Oh god.
Oh no!
Too
That's
soon.
true.
But yeah, so Penny's been framed, and oh yeah, Jacques won the election.
Yeah.
Which I think Watts did actually, because we see like, I don't know, election map or something, but we see like a little, one of his phone screens has like sort
The election
little-
districts.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they look
I-
like election districts.
Yeah.
Green, except then he
Real
sort of
fast.
waves his hand and they all turn blue.
I want to address this whole, Watts is like, he erased Tyrion from Penny's vision. Penny saw him. Tyrion just moves too fast. Okay, realistically, let's take a look at this. If Watts could control Penny, why send Tyrion in there to do that? Why not just
Exactly.
control
Yeah,
Penny to
that-
kill
I
wouldn't
everyone?
need
think that
Tyrion
theory
at
has
all.
at the very least, for the moment, been debunked. because
Yeah.
if he could control Penny,
That would have been even more damning than
that would have
doctoring.
been
It'd just
even
been
more
easier.
damning unless they weren't ready to play that trump card yet.
Yeah, they wouldn't have need to turn the lights out, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
They
They
wouldn't
could have
need
just
to.
had the lights on.
I think Dr.
Yeah.
Watts might be working on it, or that he is saving that for something particularly special. Because
Yeah.
it seems
Possibly.
that Dr. Watts has a finger on the pulse of what's going on. It would not surprise me if Watts knew who was there at the party at the time, considering
Yeah.
his level of access.
Well,
Now,
he's
I'm
got
not
all the
saying-
security cameras in Mantle, so he
Yeah.
knows, and he's got facial rec on them, I'm sure. He knows
so
that they're there.
It's not entirely out of the question that if he can do it now, he chose not to. Because that
Let's
would have
also...
Except that
Sorry.
Penny's Atlas Tech, not Mantle, and he only has access to Mantle Tech right now.
Yeah, but that might
Well,
soon
that we know
change.
of.
Well, he literally
That we know
says
of.
that he can't access Atlas yet because Atlas has updated their security code since he wrote the original one. His original one is still down in Mantle because they haven't updated it yet. That's why he's able to use Mantle
Yeah.
stuff.
So we know
He
what he
said it.
wants out of
He said it.
Jacques now.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
So he is probably going
Give
to
me the
hack
codes.
Penny before the season is over. He just can't yet.
Yeah, and then he's
Yeah.
also going to hack those tunnels and figure out where the winter...
Yeah, that's when
So,
that's when we have a problem. Are there any other salient details before we spill back into tangents and theory craft?
Yes, so the Huntresses come back. Marrow uses Stay, which is amazing.
That's
Uh,
cool.
That's good.
And yeah, they've definitely, like, Robin is shocked to see Penny up there. It feels like Robin is maybe not entirely convinced it was them, but definitely is very, very suspicious.
She
Robin-
seems like she's very determined to get to the bottom of it,
Yeah.
no matter
Well,
what.
Marrow says this wasn't us, I swear. And
She doesn't really
they
believe
leave.
him, but
Now, this is where I wanted to point something out, right? Because at this point, we go back to Mantle. We see, people in Mantle. And multiple times now, we've seen that drunk guy from Chapter 1 just hanging around. And we've seen him so many times now that I feel like he's going to become a character.
He's gonna be the
Nah.
next Forrest.
I feel like not to make it super dark, but I feel like this is Rooster Teeth going like, yo, like this is that emo kid in the school that you want to be looking out for.
oh my god.
Well, I
Wait,
mean,
glasses, dude?
Yeah.
something that they've done a huge thing this volume is making those background characters relevant to a degree, because it was funny because some of the thirsty moms got arrested for rioting, and then we were joking about that some of the thirsty moms also ended up dying in this rally that happened. But now we think about all those kids that Jean was escorting. Some of them don't have parents anymore, probably. Like, some of them just lost a parent, and it's kind of really making those, because like the problem that I always had with the Fall of Beacon is, outside of like the characters that went to the school, we didn't really know anyone that was in the city that we would have really felt bad about the city getting so destroyed like it was.
Yeah.
Like,
And
we
to
were
be
more
fair,
sad. We were more sad about, oh, school days are over. Like, this is
Yeah.
sad. Like, a couple of our faves died, but like the impact of how serious it was didn't expand any further than the main cast. And I think that what they're doing really well this volume is that we're seeing how this is affecting the people.
Yeah. Well, and we're also in the city now too.
Yeah.
Like for the fall.
But I mean,
we
were in the city for, well, part of Fall Beacon was in the city.
Yeah, it was.
We
in
never
the
got
city.
attached to any of the behind the scenes or like background characters, though. Like, they never really established any recurring, other than Shopkeep, but like that's about it.
Well, because it was more like a backdrop, I would say. Like, it was a cool place to have a fight because, hey, this is, there's a fight in the city. But we never saw, like, we see them kind of walking down the streets of the city, but especially with the shadow characters in season 1, we don't. There's not a whole lot of interaction with the city of Vale and anything. So, whereas in this season, they've been down to shops, they've been out of towns with rioters. We've seen people interacting. So. It's a lot more of the world that they've built.
Not to tangent too hard, but I just want to say that fucking Volume 1, really hard to do backgrounds to because of the shadow people, or like because I didn't get involved with like doing sound for Ruby Abridged until chapter 10, and even then the work that I did was very minimal. But goddamn, trying to fill out backgrounds was really like, because James was still doing the vast majority of the editing, and there was like some air background, but I was like, I wanted to add in like Walla and like make it sound like really busy, but the streets are just fucking barren because of like how limited they were on assets and rendering and stuff back in volume 1. So you want to make it feel like the city is alive and whatnot, but you're like, but that's not what's on screen. So how do I find a middle ground where like it actually feels like a city, but it's like doesn't
wasn't there something I want to say on like the volume 1 commentary or something where they were like, oh yeah, we had wanted cars like driving by, but then we couldn't do it, so like you can still hear the sounds of the cars driving by, but there were no cars. Like
invisible cars.
Yeah.
Driven by shadow people.
Yeah, but anyways, so
they head out, they get Penny out of there.
Yeah, Penny looks absolutely devastated, and they're like, Penny, we need to get you to Atlas. But then Grimm arrive, and Penny goes to work, and everybody else does. And that's where the episode ends.
Well, she doesn't just go to work. Penny,
she goes back to Atlas.
Well, Ruby's like, hey, we need to go get you out of here and figure this out. And Penny just ignores her.
Yeah.
So I think this is a leap in Penny's arc and Penny's story here a little bit, because she's like really upset about this. This is like the second time that
she failed at her job. She failed at protecting the people of Mantle.
Yeah, and she's clearly not dealing with it. She's gonna top anime Batman or something. I don't know.
I swear to God, if they show Penny crying, just
can she cry?
I'm not gonna
probably.
Does she have tears?
Maybe she'll be like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now I understand why you cry.
Oh God, I just thought of a really sad thing. Like, what if she does go off and she's like moping somewhere, and Ruby finds her, and she's just still kind of sitting there, and Ruby's like, "What's wrong? Like, are you okay?" And Penny is just like has this moment of like, "How real can I be? I can't even cry."
Ooh, no.
Oh, come on now.
It's my goal. Every episode, I have to get the Beau. No.
Just oh God, please no.
Well, I mean, like realistically though, like she's been talking this whole season about like, oh, like emotions this and friendships that and relationships, and being a normal meat person is so weird, and it's just like, what if thanks, Beau, I hate it.
There's the reaction.
Like, what if, like, I mean, realistically, that could very well happen.
Oh God, Penny become human. No.
Penny become human. Oh no. It's fucking Ex Machina all over again. No, but like I agree with, I think it was Forrest that said it, that I think next episode we're gonna kind of get like a rewind of like, meanwhile, like
that was James, but I
that
agree.
was James.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Meanwhile we see what the rest of movies with the boys, Bumblebee out with Funky and whatnot.
That's right. We have two different perspectives. Maybe that'll be the whole next episode.
Yeah, and then it's gonna kind of be one of those, like, it's gonna be the 2 episodes, and then at the end of the next episode, it's gonna end with it hitting the fan again, and then
Everything
the rest
comes
of it,
together,
everything comes together. Yeah.
Maybe they might go a little bit, kind of like how they with
the episode when Yang was framed.
Right, exactly. They went a little bit past, but not actually that much. In the next episode, they dealt with the actual aftermath. Just so that we're not like, oh, we got all this new stuff, but we didn't evolve, we didn't change the plot, like we didn't get any further in the plot, you know.
It's just
be a little
16
bit-
minutes of Oscar Weiss and Jean watching a movie.
The interlude episode.
Well, the thing that interests me is that, you know, normally by now we have a thumbnail, a title, a description, and a timestamp for the next episode, and there's been nothing so far. So I'm wondering, are we getting a hiatus next week?
Could be.
Is it mid-season?
What?
Is this episode
Yeah, it is mid-season.
6? Yeah, that's possible.
They
Actually.
take
It's
a week
13
off.
episodes confirmed this season, so
Okay.
13
well,
episodes?
They can count. They can
13
count that as
episodes?
mid-season, yeah.
No.
Yeah, 13.
Don't they normally do mid-season like right before Christmas though?
It's usually
Yeah,
the week
it's
of
still-
Christmas.
So
Yeah.
they might give us episode 7 and then go mid.
Yeah,
Maybe-
that would be the
and then
best
leave
for
us on a
suspense.
cliffhanger.
That would be the best for suspense if they did the 2 other perspectives next week and then just left it until after.
No.
They
yeah.
would absolutely do
Maybe they're not posting the thumbnail because it's such a huge spoiler, because all the thumbnails, all the descriptions, all the titles and everything haven't necessarily been huge spoilers. So maybe there's something about this next episode that is a huge spoiler that they're not going to post it until like the day before or something.
that. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Well, yeah. So I guess thoughts, theories, predictions.
Goodbye, Nora. Hate to say it.
Yeah, the last time, let's see.
No love can exist in this show.
No, it's not no love.
redheads
It's
can
it's
exist
no
in this show.
No,
no,
redhead.
it's no redheads on Team Juniper can follow love.
No redheads, period.
exist.
Yeah.
Penny, the
They
first
brought
time-
one back. They
Well,
brought
Penny,
one back.
you're dead too.
Oh no.
She's like been there, done that. Not really that exciting.
I guess Rooster Teeth just really hate gingers.
That would explain a lot.
That
Yes.
would. Yeah,
Redheads
Steven,
die
redheads die
first.
first. Yep. That certainly seems to be how it goes.
And it'll only be supported by the theory of Ruby dying at the end of the
With-
series.
with the exception of Two Socks Tuxton, of course.
Yeah.
Tuxton did die though.
I
He
know,
did.
that's what I'm saying, with the
But
exception.
he wasn't a redhead.
Because he was red.
I mean, other people have died and not been redheads. Oh, Adam was a redhead though.
yeah.
Oh my god. That's true. Yeah.
So
from
we've
the
Roman
beginning.
was a
had-
redhead?
We've had Penny, Pyrrha, Roman, and Adam. Yeah, sorry, Nora, you're next. You're the only one left who hasn't died yet.
Because Penny can't die twice. That would just be not yet.
See, so that means that Winter's fine because she's not a redhead.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Now
That's
see,
logic. Unless they start on the white-haired people next.
No,
Ooh.
leave them alone.
okay, well if Jacques dies, sorry, Winter.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry. Good
No, I said
riddance.
if Jacques dies, I'm sorry, because that means she's next. Ha.
Mm.
Oh.
No, that means
Probably
Whitley's
not.
next.
Then, yeah.
Does anybody
So
else
is
want
here is
Whitley
a-
to be an actual character?
See,
I don't want-
Elisa's
I don't want him to be the Alfred, like, butler. Like, he's rarely seen in the Schnee household because, for whatever reason, like, I want to hate him. I want to hate him a lot. But I need to see him more so I can justify such hatred.
I have a really important question to ask that no one's asked on this podcast yet.
okay.
What happened to Klein?
I was about to say.
He probably got fired.
Yeah, Jacques probably found out that Klein helped Weiss escape.
Probably.
We'll see him as like part of Robin Hill's
I
later
want
or
to
something.
see. I want to see Whitley get put into a situation where it's life or death, and see his semblance awaken.
There you go.
I think that would be
Yeah.
really interesting, and
Could
he
be.
suddenly has
And then
this
Weiss is
appreciation.
like, "You're one of us now, Whitley," and he's like, "No."
I kind of want him to have a sudden appreciation for it because he realizes like it saves him, and
It'd be
he
like-
realizes that maybe his father has been feeding him some lies.
It'd be like Whitley's semblance awakens just in time to bitch ass straight off their top of their mansion, like
That
down
would
to
be
mantle
rather
below, and he
convenient.
splat. I'd be alright with that.
Alright, is there anything else? Because we are way past time.
Yeah, we are.
I
gotta
think
go.
my prediction is there's gonna be a lot of grim and a lot of suffering.
Really?
That's rather grim.
Oh my god.
Uh,
Get out. Are we
Get
really
off.
leaving this
Get off
podcast?
my
I know.
podcast.
Are we really gonna leave it there?
No.
Okay, fine.
No. Absolutely
Get
not.
out. Get out. I'm gonna remove him. Oh shit, he's back.
Wow. Okay.
I
Oh,
predict
man.
Beau will be soon ascending to the head of KRWBY Productions very shortly.
Oh shit.
Oh man. Well,
And we'll
thank
be
y'all
demanding
for
somebody gets stepped on in her name.
well, thank
their
y'all
name.
for
My
tuning in this week.
good.
Thanks for sticking around so long. We know that this was a long one. Literally almost twice the length of our normal podcasts because we had to cover 2 episodes.
and then talk about a different total season
Yeah.
for a while.
Ugh.
You know, as one does.
I
But
want
yeah.
I want you to know that this podcast went for 2 hours and 40 minutes. Like
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
James,
Yeah,
what have you
long-
done?
We did good.
This is what
Lot of-
happens when
lot-
you're here.
What
This
have
is why
I
you're-
done? It's not my
Yeah,
podcast.
I blame you. It doesn't happen
I
on my
don't
normal
run this.
everyday podcast.
No, actually, Ian, this is your fault because you weren't here last week.
I'm just gonna
I
put
feel
it
called
out
out.
there. I'm just gonna put it out there that if they straight up just kill Winter, I'll probably stop watching the show. So yeah, just want to put it out there to writing.
No, don't do that.
Uh,
I feel
Sugar
yeah.
called
Rush says
out.
this would be the normal length of the podcast.
thank you
No.
guys for tuning
Sugar
in.
Rush is trying to kill us all, apparently.
Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next week at the regular time. It's been real fun. Boy!
Bye.
Right.